Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank everybody for being with us. I dare say this is a historic meeting. I want to thank the Commissioners Court from Cameron County. I want to thank the Port Commissioners from the Brownsville Navigation District. I want to thank the members from the Regional Mobility Authority for joining us today on this very historic meeting to discuss items and projects that are of vital interest to Brownsville and to Cameron County. With that in mind, let me turn this over to Mr. Pete Sepulveda. Where are you, Pete? I'm sorry. Who am I going to turn it over to?
You can over
Okay, I'm sorry.
to make that.
I'm sorry. Okay, to Judge Carlos Cascos.
Yeah, we gotta open
Judge,
up
thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a special meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court dated February the 20th, Tuesday. It's now a little after 3 p.m. Do I hear a motion to posted pursuant to Government Code? Second, hear a motion to open up our workshop agenda. Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Mayor, members of the board, thank you very much. Judge, always nice to see you. Members of the RMA, this is a historic day today. And it's something that had never occurred before, and it's due time. For those of y'all that have heard what the theme of our administration is that of togetherness, to community, to working together as a team, and not so much as different entities going in different directions. As you all know, the Commissioners Court a few weeks ago approved a payment to the Port of Brownsville in the amount of $350,000, which was an amount that was long due for over a decade. And in showing the spirit of cooperation, the court unanimously approved to make that payment to the port. So I want to thank the port, for their patience and not charging us interest on that money. And again, the RMA is also well on its way to providing the necessary vehicle to move all our infrastructure programs ahead. So again, thank you, Mayor, for hosting us. Members of the court, thank you for being here. RMA, thank you for being here. Members of the audience, thank you all for being here as well.
Let me thank Judge Gascos because he indulged us in allowing us to host this meeting due to our regular City Commission meeting. And I know you have a meeting later on this afternoon also, so I do appreciate you letting us host this today. But this was done at the instigation and a direction of Judge Carlos Gascos, and I want to make sure that we give him the credit. All right, are we down to business now?
We're down.
All right, Pete, it's your show.
Thank you, Mayor, Judge.
You know what? I'm sorry. Yeah, Pete. Before we can begin, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rambula, do you need to call your meeting to order? Now I have a quorum, so now I do have to call my meeting to order. But as soon as we're done, you're probably going to want to do that. All right. This is a call meeting of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas. Lisa, if you please read the call.
Notice joint public meeting of the City Commission, Cameron County Commissioners Court, Brownsville Navigation District Board, and Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority Board, and a regular meeting of the City Commission. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a joint workshop with the Cameron County Commissioners Court, Brownsville Navigation District Board, and Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority Board on Tuesday, February 20th, 2007 at 3 p.m. An executive session, workshop, and regular meeting at 4:50, 5:15, and 6 p.m. in the Commission chambers on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall.
All right, Commissioner Arambula, the Chairman Arambula.
Yes, sir. Officially, it's Tuesday, February the 20th, 3:07 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, now Pete.
I now call in the absence of Chairman David Alex, I call the meeting to order of the CCOMA. Thank you, Mayor, Judge, Chairman Arambula, Mr. Ramon. We put together just a brief agenda on different topics that we wanted to discuss with all the entities. And we're hoping to be able to come out of this short meeting workshop with a consensus on continuing the dialogue that we will begin today, continuing to work together on the transportation priorities that the port, the RMA, the city, and the county have in Cameron County. We all know that Cameron County is only one of 2 areas, I believe, in the nation that has all 4 modes of transportation. Those being land, air, rail, and sea. And so having that gives us really an unlimited growth potential in our area. I think anywhere you go, whether it's in the United States or Mexico or Canada, I think everybody will tell you that you will be able to do a lot more if you work together.
Pete, real quick, we have another member who needs to sit down real quick.
Apologize, County Judge. I just had a deposition that just finished. Apologize to everybody.
So what we did is just put a short list of projects that we feel are a priority. We'll go over those rather quick. And then we want some dialogue between, all 4 entities. And as I just mentioned, hopefully we'll come out of this workshop with some consensus that we will continue to work together, maybe at a staff level, just have the staff from the port, the city, county, and the RMA work together and maybe, quarterly have this type of workshop so that we can come back and brief you all on our efforts, on the progress of the projects, our efforts and progress in Austin, and our efforts and progress in Washington, as well as in Mexico City and other areas in Mexico. So if we go to agenda item number 1, we've got long-term projects, we've got short-term projects. I think one of the projects that has been long-term probably being 15 years or so, is the efforts of Cameron County, of the Cameron County area, of bringing an interstate corridor to the lower Rio Grande Valley of Texas, in Cameron County. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, we had a meeting in Austin with the Texas Department of Transportation, where we heard that I think after so many years, I think now it's something that will become a reality in the next couple of years, and that is that TxDOT is very seriously looking at bringing an interstate corridor down US 77, tying Nueces County with Cameron County. I think you all have heard before that we're one of the major metropolitan areas, the whole Rio Grande Valley, that does not have an interstate come to the valley. We're hoping that by this fall there will be a formal announcement by the Texas Highway Commission that the lower Rio Grande Valley will have an interstate corridor come our way. And I don't think we need to go into any specifics of what economic benefits having an interstate corridor come our way will have for the entire county. One of the things that we'll be able to accomplish by doing that is the connectivity between the Port of Corpus and the Port of Brownsville. You're looking at highway, you're looking at rail. So this is a project that is very dear, I'm sure, to all of you. Some of you that have served in different capacities are very familiar with the efforts that we've had the last 10, 15 years. And so knowing that in the next 7, 8 months this can become a reality, I think makes the project even better. In between now and the fall, we will keep in touch with TxDOT on a monthly basis to ensure that we are doing what we need to be doing at our end to make this project a reality. The Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority is taking the lead on this project. In the next couple of months, we will have meetings with the 2 developers that will potentially develop this corridor on 77. The 2 firms that are competing for this project, one is Zachary and the other one is Sintra. And so in the next couple of weeks, we will meet with both of them and just explain to them why Cameron County is important, not only to Mexico and the state of Texas and the United States, but we can be a worldwide market if we have the proper infrastructure, the proper transportation network in place. So think of all the projects that we listed. This is a project that is long-term, short-term, And it's a project that can become a reality in the next couple of years. Obviously, you know, you all drive down the expressway every day, and you all see the improvements that have been undertaken on the expressway the last couple of years. I believe we've got about another 2 or 3 years to go to complete the expansion in the Cameron County area. So that has to remain a priority with us and with TxDOT. We're looking at the future widening of Military Road. That is a major corridor because, you know, it ties together the different international crossings in Cameron County and Hidalgo County. But it also provides a relief for the expressway system. So that's a project that we continue to work with TxDOT on. The other project is the East Loop project that can potentially tie the Veterans Bridge at Los Tomates with the Port of Brownsville. There's different phases in this project. First phase, believe we're about to get environmental clearance in the next couple of months. And there's a plan laid out to continue the dialogue and the relationship with TxDOT to complete the entire project from the bridge to the Port of Brownsville. The other project that is extremely important is the expansion of FM 511. As you all know, that leg on 511 from the expressway to the Port of Brownsville has been designated as a future I-69 corridor. And so that is a major project. TxDOT is currently in the right-of-way acquisition phase of the project. There's been one public meeting. There's a design that TxDOT is considering. And so we felt this is a major project that will benefit the entire region, and primarily the Port of Brownsville. The other project is the West Rail project. This project is under design, both on the U.S. side and on the Mexican side. And we're hoping to be able to be under construction by the latter part of this year. This will take out all the main through rail line that goes through downtown Brownsville and downtown Matamoros. And I think this is a project we really need to spend some time and focusing in because it really can bring a lot of benefit to the Cameron County area. If we start considering the connectivity between Brownsville, Matamoros, and the Port of Lázaro Cárdenas. I think everybody is familiar with the plan that Kansas City Southern has in place, not only at their smart port in Kansas City, but also at the Port of Lázaro Cárdenas. And so I think rail is extremely important to our economy, to the industry, and I think we need to put a little more emphasis on this and make it a priority because the benefits to everybody are extreme. And the other thing that we got to look at, and when the RMA was doing its strategic plan, we took into account the transportation network system in Tamaulipas and in the interior of Mexico, especially along the Gulf Coast. We can potentially tie Brownsville, Matamoros, and the other Gulf Coast states north of us with the entire Gulf Coast in Mexico. And that is key. And when the RMA was doing the strategic plan, when we held our workshops, they wanted to ensure that that was included in our strategic plan because we need to make sure that we are connected to Mexico and their transportation system because that will make a huge difference for us in the future. If you all recall, we came, I believe, before most of the entities when Cameron County was considering creating the Regional Mobility Authority. And the reason this came about is because, and those of you that serve in the MPO know this very well, that TxDOT a couple of years ago started coming to the counties, to the cities, and advising them that every year the level of funding that communities received was going to get less and less and less. And so if communities wanted to keep up with population growth, keep up with the infrastructure needs in their area, they needed to start getting creative and looking at other methods of financing other than the traditional TxDOT funding methods. And So Cameron County petitioned the Highway Commission to create the RMA, and the commission did. And we've been in existence for about 2 years, and working on several major projects in Cameron County that will make a huge difference. One of them is the second causeway that will connect South Padre Island with the mainland. That's probably about a $400 million project that we're working on. The other one is the conversion of the existing right-of-way that's owned by Union Pacific in the Brownsville area, and converting that to a major vehicular corridor once the rail line is relocated through the West Rail project. Then the RMA is also charged with the studies, technical studies, to relocate rail around Harlingen and San Benito. All these projects that the RMA is working on is exactly what Governor Perry had envisioned when the legislature passed legislation to allow for the creation of RMAs. So the RMA is a great tool that the county has, it's a vehicle we can use to fund projects that ordinarily will take 10, 15, 20 years for TxDOT to fund. We can fund projects, you know, in a much smaller time period than the traditional method. One example is when we went before the Highway Commission in April, the RMA received $21.5 million grant to do advanced planning on the Second Causeway and on the West Loop project. And so the RMA's here, you know, feel free to go to the RMA on any project that you all might have, that you might think that the RMA can assist you. We're also working with the city of Brownsville and the county on the West Rail project, doing the international coordination. The RMA can do work and spend money in U.S., but more importantly on the Mexican side. So they're assisting the city and county on the West Rail, doing all the international coordination. We're working with the Port of Brownsville on the Weir project. We just entered into a 90-day contract in January, and our task is to develop a plan of action on the Mexican side.
Pete, that's with PUB.
I'm sorry, with PUB.
Yes. The port's looking very confused.
Our task is to develop a plan of action on how to get the project through the approval process, through the permitting process in Mexico. That plan will be complete in the next 3 weeks.
Can we briefly interrupt and introduce our chairman, David Alex, who walked in?
Thank you for being here, Mr. Chairman.
One of the other in talking to the judge when he came in, I think one of the things that we need to do as a county, and hopefully with the concurrence of the port, the city, the RMA, is to look at the existing transportation network system in Cameron County, look at the future transportation system, and look at the growth patterns that we've seen, you know, for the last 5, 10 years, and look at what's projected the next 5, 10, 15 years. And then let's do a master plan on where our international crossings ought to be located, whether they're for passenger vehicles or for commercial vehicles. But I think we got to take the entire county and to a certain point look at how Matamoros is growing and look at their growth patterns and see where the best location for an international bridge, whether it be just strictly for passenger vehicles or for commercial vehicles. And I think if we do this, really gets us a step above any other area or sponsor that is looking at developing an international bridge. I think when we go to Washington, to State Department, when we go to Ciudad Victoria with the governor, or when we go to Mexico City, whether it be with Relaciones Exteriores or Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transportes, we make it a lot easier for them if we are united. If we go to them and say, look, this is what we did in Cameron County, and this is what we want to do, and this is our plan of action, and this is our project time schedule that we have, and you know, what do we need from the State Department in Washington? what do we need from Relaciones Exteriores or SCT in Mexico City so that we can meet the project time schedule that we have. And I think that's very important because I believe, you know, and some of y'all that have been in past binational commission meetings, you know, have seen that we each go and we each make our own presentation. And you see that throughout the border from Brownsville to San Diego. And I can guarantee you, if you go back and you look at the records, you know, those entities, those counties, cities that went together in making joint presentations, you know, their projects more than likely got approved, and those projects are constructed and operational now. So I think that's very key, and I know it's a workshop, we can't take any action, but I think in the near future, we very seriously need to ought to consider doing that, whether the county takes a lead or the RMA takes a lead, but we got to do that in unison. Kind of wanted to leave about 30 minutes for you all to have some dialogue, so I'm going to ask Donna, Hector, to present the item number 3, which is the discussion of the port widening deepening project.
Mayor, members of the commission, elected officials, good afternoon. I didn't really come prepared this afternoon, but well, we've been working with the Corps of Engineers for about a year ago in this port deepening study. It's basically a very overall study that will look into the engineering aspects, the environmental aspects, the economic benefits, and basically leave no stones unturned. So far, some of the initial phases of the work that we have already undertaken include looking at a matrix of the different configurations for the channel. We're going to be looking at three basic depths, 45, 50, and 50-foot 5 depths. Currently, the channel is at 42. Also including with each of these alternatives a widening of 100 feet to be able to accommodate offshore rigs and wider vessels that can come and be serviced at our dry dock facility, which is basically the Keppel Amphos facility. We have already began the environmental baseline risk assessment. We're going to be looking at areas 3 miles north and south of the channel to address all environmental impacts related to the Bahia Grande, San Martin Lake, the placement of material for dredging, disposal areas. We will be looking at mitigation measures, whether we will be creating additional marshlands as part of mitigation for where this dredge material may need to be placed. Overall, the project will be weighted on what is considered a benefit-cost ratio to the nation and national economic development ratio. In other words, it means that it has to generate enough, a positive ratio from additional business to the federal government, to the United States. In other words, if we were to take, shall we say, business away from San Diego, Port of San Diego, or Port of LA, that is not considered in the national interest. The overall goal of the project, it's a 4-year study. We anticipate that around
Hector, let me ask you real quick on that portion that you just mentioned right now.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, obviously don't want to be taking away because if it's not in the national interest.
Yes.
Is that a separate part of the study that still needs to be approved, or is that already part and parcel of the study that's undergoing, that you guys are doing?
What we're going to be doing, it goes into what is called a benefit-cost ratio. We're going
Right.
to look at all the benefits, which
But
include
who's going to do that? The same group that you all have doing the, or the Corps of Engineers does? Oh,
We're working with the Corps of Engineers on a 50-50 partnership. We have engaged a consultant that is going to help us out to make sure that things fall towards what we call our best interest.
Right.
And then the Corps has certain guidelines already established that we need to follow. There are several phases of studies that we need to identify. And eventually, we need to have a positive benefit-cost ratio for the Galveston District Corps of Engineers to recommend to Congress that it be set and pushed forward under the Water Resources Development Act. Or WRDA.
thank you, Hector. I appreciate that.
Right. So our idea is hopefully that around 2011, 2010, our studies will be concluded. They will have the benefit that we think we need. So far, our preliminary indications show that there is enough economic activity to warrant and merit this study and this construction. And assuming that we have our necessary lobbying in place and authorization, we could potentially begin construction around 2011.
Real quick, why
2012.
2011? Why so?
Well, it's a 4-year study. We're in 2006. It will be 2010 by the time we conclude it. Then we need to present it to our Congress and Senate for approvals. Then it needs to be authorized and included on the war bill. Then once money is appropriated at the federal level for construction, then we can begin that project.
Thank you.
It's, let me say that in the history of the port, I believe we've done this 3 times. Last time, it began in 1986, and the last deepening began in 1992. So it's about 6 years from when you began the studies to when you actually realize hands-on activities at the facility. And that's basically a short presentation on it. If there's any other questions that I can...
I mean, you said it's not in the best in the nation to have something here, or San Diego. You said something like that. Who is that? Higher politics or what? What
No,
is it?
it's based on an economic impact study, and basically what we're looking at is we're looking at the additional tonnage cargo that will come through, the jobs that are generated, the benefit that turns out to be in dollars for the shrimping, for the steel industry, for commerce, jobs, and then all that what gets weighted into the construction cost. That's the other part of it, the engineering on it. How much is going to cost versus how much are you going to generate? And you wish to have a positive ratio of more benefits than cost to make it appealable to the federal government.
Go ahead, Donna.
Can I just say one thing? We've already made it past the first hurdle. The Corps of Engineers performed what they call a reconnaissance study.
Hold on, Donna. Could somebody hand her a mic? I was going to remind anybody who wants to speak, we have a couple of mics hopefully around. I want to make sure.
There's one there on the table.
Mr. Chairman Alex, if you wouldn't mind moving, let's see, where's your chair at? Right over here, because I just saw Frank come in. Well, then let's change the name cards for everybody. Right there, Pancho.
No, I just wanted to note that we did make it past the first hurdle. The Corps of Engineers performs out of their own budget a reconnaissance study to do a preliminary study to see if it would be in the nation's interest. And we made it past that hurdle, and this is already the second funding year that we've been appropriated money from the Congress for that project. The first year we got about $750,000, and then this in '08 budget we've got $500, with the capability, if the government had the extra money, to do $1.2 million worth of work. Now the port at this time it's a 50-50 match. Right. So we have already set aside money in our budget program to go forward as fast as we can with this project, but we're at the mercy of the Corps because they do have to fund it as well.
So if I met with BDC yesterday and people from GBEC, and we talked about the Port of Brownsville. Why aren't we not investing in the Port of Brownsville? What are we doing wrong? What's happening? And it was brought up that the Corps engineers were at their will. So when they want to dredge, they're going to dredge. So, and I invited PUB over here, Mr. John Brusiak. There's people in the audience that have great minds and a lot of motivation to help the Port of Brownsville, to help the county. And I mean, we're here. What are the ideas? I mean, I was told that the Port of Brownsville needs so much infrastructure, so much utilities. Well, that's why I brought John Brusiak. How can we fix some of these things that, our Port of Brownsville is our secret. That's our bread and butter. That's going to help the county and the city. But it just seems like we go do studies after studies, and I know we have to wait and wait, but when does it get done? When can people, like people on the GBEC or BDC say, you know what, we want to help? Or how can we bring businesses to Brownsville, to the Port of Brownsville? It's just going to help our community. It just seems like I'm new, so I'm just going to ask the dumb questions.
I can certainly say that the channel is federally maintained, so we need to abide by the Corps of Engineers and the rules. Where we can all help is to make sure they have the right information, that whenever we start reviewing their economic impact studies, that we have covered all our bases, that there is no information left behind that can hinder this project. In other words, we want to make sure that somehow we, I guess, part of the reason is that we're all here together, I presume, is that that it's for us to get together and put our minds together to what we're providing to the Corps, what they're evaluating as part of the economic impact studies, that we, to make sure that they are covering all our needs. Basically, they're working for us. We have requested this project from them. We are the ones who have initiated it. That's just the process, the way it works, but it is up to us to ensure that we get the best out of it. And
Before we move on, Commissioner Zavaleta, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Zavaleta wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that, you know, at the federal level, the money we need.
Do we only have one mic?
Appropriated.
Is there another mic on this side of the table? We should have two mics. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I want to make sure that everybody hears what you have to say.
I just wanted to add that from my experience, when Commissioner Mazo and myself went to Washington, D.C. with our lobbyists to lobby with the senators and the Congress folks, and we talked about our shoaling problems and even the deepening and widening of the channel. Once the proper documentation is submitted to Washington, D.C. with the deepening studies and feasibility information that's going to be given to them, then it's totally up to Congress to make sure that they appropriate those monies, if any. Congressman Ortiz had mentioned that because of the monies that are being spent in the war, our chances of getting monies are even slimmer. But the good news behind that, he said that because Congress and the Senate has changed and it's primarily Democratic now, the chances for us getting monies appropriated to us are even better than they were a couple of years ago. But it is going to take time for us to get those monies appropriated. But the good news is, as Donna said, that it is moving in the right direction. And I myself, as well as our colleagues here, wish that we could just get the magic wand and get it going. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And we are at the mercy of the federal government because it is federally funded. And so
That's
Yes, sir.
unfortunate. We all have those hurdles to deal with.
Commissioner
Zavaleta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To respond to you directly, Commissioner Atkinson, about this time last year, the previous board had before it the contracts of our lobbyists that were either up for renewal or modification. And one of the pieces of information that I brought before our board was a Corpus Christi Caller-Times article that had done a comparative study of federal dollars to the Port of Corpus Christi as compared to the Port of Brownsville. And I was sad to report and sad to read in the Corpus Christi Caller-Times that we received over, from 1997 to 2004, the Port of Brownsville received a fourth of federal dollars that the Port of Corpus Christi received. I think the numbers were around $6 million in those 7 years for the Port of Brownsville, for $24 million in the Port of Corpus Christi. And I can email you the link to that article. There were all kinds of excuses given as to why that was the case. None of them, in my opinion, were persuasive. I would love to have seen those $18 million ripple through our economy and the jobs that those would have created and the stimulus to the economies that would have created. So we are working very hard with our lobbyists and our representatives to make sure that they understand that we should not be the tail any longer, that we should be the head.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, but let me just say, since this is not a meeting to point fingers, this is a meeting to raise issues and projects where we're all going to work together. What's in the past is in the past, and I think I may be wrong, but there's nothing we can do about what's already occurred. I do know that we can do something about what we're going to do in the future. So let's remain a positive mind frame, especially at least for the next hour while we're here working on this. And while we're going to have disagreements, and there's certainly issues that we have in the past, let's work together to the future and let politics play as little as part of this as possible, because as we all know, the only thing wrong with politics is politics. So that has no progress. All right, Hector, I appreciate you. Are there any more specific questions with regards to Hector's project? Commissioner Wood?
I just kind of like to make a comment, and it goes along with what you're saying, Mayor. I think one of the outcomes that we need to have for this meeting and future meetings we have like this is that everyone knows what everyone else's projects are. I know later on this month the county is going to Washington. The city is going to Washington. they're going to be talking to the very same people that y'all talk to when you go. And when you go, you'll know what projects we have, what projects the city has, what projects the RMA is working on. And I think that's really part of the reason for having this meeting and getting us all together on the same page to where we can, when we're up there, we're talking to the right people, and we're continuing to hammer on the right people that we need the things we need in our area, because we've all, as a group, decided that's the direction we want to go.
All right. And I think what Commissioner Wood alludes to, and what Judge Gasco said earlier, is it would be great if every time the county goes, there's a representative from the port or the city, and vice versa. I know we're going next week. We've done it in the past. There's absolutely no reason why we can't continue that in the future. Pete, your next item.
Real quick, Mayor, if you don't mind, Mr. Herrera from the GBEC, Chairman of the GBEC, would like to say something real quick, if you don't mind.
Why is it that we can't use a lot of the information that we have in the past? You said we've done this port dredging 2 or 3 times already. Why is it that we can't use, and what kind of impact it had when we did do the dredging? How come we can't use that information to try to speed up this 4-year process?
We are using previous information, all the geotechnical borings that were done to assess, for example, the quality of the material to be dredged, the placement areas, all that is being utilized. However, some of that information is limited because the idea back then was to deepen the port to 42 feet. Most of those borings only go to about 48, 50 feet. Now, if we wish to extend to 55, then we need to reassess some of those studies. And so we are utilizing as much of the previous information as there is. The process the total project study is $6.8 million over the next 4 years. And there are some checkpoints along the project, which will tell you where you're heading so that you know whether you want to keep up investing your money or not. So it's not that we're going to go spend $6.8 million and find out, oof, we didn't make it. No, that definitely is not the case. Another perspective you can think of it is that it's a big challenge. We basically have mentioned to the federal government that Brownsville is ready for an expansion, that we are ready to step up to the major leagues and hit it hard, and that we are willing to look into this study and spend these monies to make sure that we are there. And it's basically, this study is going to give us a real quick flash of where we stand right now and where we can expect to be in the next 30, 40 years.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Mr. Herrera. All right, Pete, did you go over the county bridge master plan? You did mention that as part of it? Okay, I mean, I know it was all part and parcel. All right, so we're on to item D now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hector.
Which is item D, Mayor?
Discussion to establish a permanent working committee.
I think if there can be a consensus for staff from the port, from the city, from the RMA, and from the county to work together on the projects that we listed as priority projects. And if there's other projects, then staff can bring them to the table.
Having, what, 2 members from each board or commission as part of the, and we're going to have to come up with a name.
It's up to you all if you want to.
The super duper governmental.
Staff or?
No, really, we really should have some kind of a joint interagency. We'll let all the staffers do it then, Pete. Okay. But if anybody has a problem with it, I would suggest that Pete continue to run with the lead on this, assuming there's no objections to it. He's been doing all the work anyway. Thank you, Pete.
Next item on the strategic.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
He's taking the lead, so he's contacting. Since Pete is taking the lead, that means that he will be contacting the other staff?
Yes.
And put the group together?
My suggestion would be 2 members from each entity, okay. 2 city, 2 county, 2 okay. RMA, 2 port. Is that all right?
Good, yeah. Just wanted clarification.
On item E, the strategic alliance partnerships. Right now, we've got a working group from Harlingen, San Benito, Brownsville, the port, the chairman, when we went to Austin in early January, the chairman Arambula went with us. And we want to continue that alliance, and specifically to work on bringing an interstate, down to Cameron County, Brownsville area. When we met with TxDOT, they gave us 3 specific tasks that we needed to accomplish between January and September. It was a consensus of that working group that the RMA take the lead on that project, and so the RMA has taken the lead. It will involve some expenses, and probably what will happen is we'll go to those different entities so that we can split up those expenses. But when we were in Austin, we were also there also was representation from Nueces County, City of Corpus, the Port of Corpus, and so we want to continue working with the entire alliance. We really don't have a lot of time. We've got about 7 months before the announcement in September, so we've got to get working on the 3 things that TxDOT asked of us. We've pretty much started working on all 3 things, and at the appropriate time, we will need the judge, the mayor, the chairman of the RMA to make formal presentations to the 2 developers, and that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get that going through the staff working committee and keep you all abreast. The next item was the upcoming binational meeting in Laredo. That was scheduled to occur on the 5th and 6th of March. Since we posted the agenda, that has changed. There's 2 other dates that are being looked at right now by the State Department and by Mexico. And those are March 13th through the 15th or March 20th through the 22nd. And as soon as we have that information, we will forward that to you all.
Pete, why don't you tell us a little bit about the BTA meeting? You have that scheduled. Isn't that is it next week? Or conference?
Yeah, the BTA meeting, the RDC conference is next week in Washington. We will have Senator Cornyn that will address the conference, as well as Senator Hutchison. Mayor Peters, who is the Secretary of Transportation, will also be there. Dan Derrick from who's the coordinator of border affairs for the State Department, will be there. And we will have, it's a 2-day meeting with a lot of speakers focusing on infrastructure, and focusing on pilot projects that we're attempting to do with Customs and Border Protection. That'll be in Washington, March 28th, February 27th through March the 1st.
With so many leaders, I didn't think we'd be quiet at all. All right, well, why don't we get to any Q&A comments now that we've gotten the agenda out of the way? Judge?
Mayor?
Commissioner?
Thank you. In looking at this, I know that a lot of us here are very familiar with the MPO. And what I'm thinking is we have MPO representation from TxDOT, from the city, from the port, from the county, from BISD, from the Chamber of Commerce, from the town of Los Fresnos, Rancho Viejo, and the Airport Advisory Committee. I think it might be a good idea to amend the MPO bylaws, if y'all think it would be, to add someone from the RMA. The MPO.
Oh, I thought we hadn't done that?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, well, definitely. Well, I guess since Pete's always there.
Well, but he's there on behalf of the county.
Right.
We have to trade hats with him.
You never know what type of hat he's wearing.
But I think that would be important because that's, that talks about the transportation plans for this part of the county for the next 30 years.
I think that's a great suggestion, and we'll make sure we get it done for next month's MPO meeting.
And I don't see the MPO director here, Mark.
No, but I'll make sure that, I see Ben, so Ben, make a note. We'll get that taken care of. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, any other questions or comments, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Alex?
Just a short comment based on looking over this group here, who some of you know, some of them I don't know very well. But if you know me, I'm an action-oriented person. I want to tell you right now that have a great team of RMA directors here who have dedicated their time and effort and families, if you want to put it that way, to make sure that transportation is done right. And the only way transportation is done right, and I think Commissioner Wood and Pete explained that, and Mayor, you did too, is that it's really great to see everybody together, getting in the same boat and rowing in the same direction. This is one of those things that that the power of all of us getting together and doing the same thing and establishing our goals and objectives and then going after it. But I would caution you that don't get discouraged over the first trip to Washington. I spent 35 years going to Washington 4 or 5 times a year, and sometimes it takes a couple of trips to go up there to knock those people around. So I would encourage you to never get discouraged about it, because they will listen to you if we all get together in the same boat and we all row in the same direction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, if you don't want to get discouraged, don't go to Washington.
Mayor, thank you very much again. I think it's apparent that our agenda is your agenda. And I think it's important to know that your agenda is our agenda. And I think we need to compile our agendas and push those agendas forward together. Again, as you prefaced earlier in your opening, this is the first time that this has happened. And I believe that we need to further it by doing the identical thing with the city of Harlingen, the Port of Harlingen as well, and inviting our sister city of San Benito. We need to come together as a region. At some point in time, once we meet, and Pete, I'll ask you to coordinate the same thing again with the city of Harlingen and their MPO and everybody. And I think once we do that, then we all come together as a county. And when I say county, I don't mean Cameron County as the entity. I mean Cameron County as our community. And that's what we need to do. Mayor, I want to thank you for allowing us to participate today in this. And this is something that is historic, something that's never happened before. I want to thank Commissioner Benavides and Commissioner Wood and Commissioner Tamayo, for also assisting in this endeavor. Without them, this could not occur. Thank you to you all as well for being here. And I think we are going in the right direction. And anything that you need from us, simply pick up the phone and call. If you are going to go to Washington or Austin, let us know, and maybe one of us can break away and go with you. There is strength in numbers, and we need to do that, and that's the only way they're going to prevail, that we're going to prevail. And as you know, monies are competitive, and these things require money. A lot of things we want to do is money, and we're going to have to come together, and I think if we continue this way to do this at least every 4 to 5 months, we can always meet here if you'd like, Mayor.
No, I think it's a good idea to move it around, Judge.
And do it. We can meet wherever they can accommodate everybody. But let's do this. This is just the first step, and let's do this every 3 months, every 4 months, just to exchange dialogue, and just to up to date everybody with information. Pete, I'd like any time that we have something that warrants dissemination to everybody, copy the port, copy the city of Brownsville, copy the MPO, copy the RMA, make sure that they know what we're doing. So you're not caught blindsided, whenever you're asked about what's going on down here. So we will do that, and we trust that you all will consider doing the same thing for us. Thank you.
I think you alluded to it, you said it, and we know it, that the reality is that our world is actually getting smaller, and by all of us going in different directions, well, we just need to look at the past and realize that by going in different directions, while we accomplished things, it took us a little bit longer. A regional approach, and this includes all from the entire county, Harlingen and its port. All of us need to realize that by getting together, we can be fighting for the entire loaf versus arguing over slices. The past has shown that by bickering amongst ourselves or competing amongst ourselves, we end up with little or nothing. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. Hidalgo County, McAllen, Mission, Edinburgh, PSJ, they have been very, very progressive in taking a regional approach, but that's not to say that we certainly can't do it. You alluded, this is our first meeting, it won't be the last. And while the players may change, the goals of all of our entities remains the same, which is to do absolute best for our constituents, for our citizens. So I really am excited about the prospects for the future, and all of us, don't get discouraged even when things move slowly here in the valley. If it takes a little while to get these things done, that's just the nature of the beast, but we still have to keep trucking along and moving forward. So I really do appreciate all of you being here and participating. Are there any other specific projects, items that we wanted to discuss, we do. I was afraid we wouldn't have enough time for an hour and 45 minutes, but looks like we've done well. Or everybody just keeping quiet.
Pete, I'm not gonna stay quiet. I'm gonna ask a question. What would you like to see in the next month as far as people coming together to vote on something that we need now within the next month? Is there something, I mean, I'm sure all of us here want to take some type of action. I mean, I don't want to just meet and wait 4 years for a study when we can do something now. There has to be something out there now that we can help the Port of Brownsville, help the Cameron County do something. We gotta do something.
Yeah, there are specific things that when we meet with the committee, we'll address, and we'll each go back individually to our governmental entity and take the appropriate action. But I can tell you right now, you know, one is the extension of I-37, you know, into the Cameron County area. That's, you know, if anything, that is our biggest, you know, highest priority project right now. The other one is looking at developing the master plan for our international bridges and crossings. And obviously, you know, the deepening of the port, you know, if there's anything the county, RMA, or the city can do, well, then we'll discuss that. But in the next week or so, I want to meet with a committee, you know, go over every project individually, you know, try and set priorities, and then come back and report, you know, to our governmental entities so that we can take the appropriate action on each of those priorities.
I'd like to say something, Mayor. I can see that if you're going to have a working committee, it's not fair to say, well, Pete, what are your ideas? Again, we have to remember that we're united, we're cooperating with each other, so it really needs to be the whole committee getting together. Now, Pete will take the lead, and as I understood, but he's got to listen to the rest of us. If not, we're going to go back to where we were before. So what I'm looking at is that this committee will be meeting, and then we will be informed as to the process they're going to follow, the priorities that they're going to set, and the timelines. That's what I'm thinking will happen from that committee.
Yes. Pastor Alvarez, let me give you a mic, although I know you don't need it.
There's some words we're very afraid of, you know. One is called separation of church and state, religion and politics. But is it we've lost the direction of politics? If we went back to Webster's dictionary, politics is a gentleman's polite way of doing business. Today, politics to us means my way. We need to get back. And you know why they got 24 million? I'm just playing Joe. Okay? You know why they got more money than we did? I wrote it down here. It's called votes, votes, votes. We may choose to divide ourselves here, but we sure need to be united over there. And the bottom line, it's called votes. Anything else, why would anybody invest in an area where people don't vote, regardless of how they vote? If you vote against me, you're a threat to me. If you vote for me, you're an asset to me. But we need to get back to where politics is a gentleman's way of doing business. It comes out of the word polite in the Greek. I'm polite to you. If not, I take a baseball bat. I don't need politics. I've got a bat. We need to get back to where politics don't mean my way, and we need to decide that we're going to stay united. Anytime you're going to make something work, you need friction. Friction fuels it. And you know, if the kitchen's too hot, we need to get out of the kitchen. My personality cannot be involved here. If not, we're just playing. We're just, you know, I've been on plenty of boards, and I've been in plenty of national committees. We don't get nothing done because we won't lay aside our personal little deal. I went over there and told the school board what I wanted. I lost. I just went back and told them, hey, let's work on something else. We don't get it our way today. Let's work on something else that we can work together. That's all.
Thank you, Pastor. As usual, words of wisdom. John, I know you can't do better than what the pastor just said, but go ahead.
Well, I did appoint him to the board, so.
Talking about taking credit, you see?
Mayor, I'm just glad that the
pastor gave a different definition to the word politics as opposed to Kinky Friedman's definition.
John?
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is John Brusiak. I'm the General Manager of PUB. Just wanted to make a comment on a couple things. One is we are appreciative of the port working with us on the Ocean Decel plant. That's going to be a regional project. We've got interest all the way to Laredo to be a part of that project. Ribbon cutting is this Friday at 10:30 at the site. Most of you should have gotten an invitation. If not, you're invited.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a bad Friday for us.
Well, we
but,
tried to have
they'll
everybody.
be there.
It'd be quick, and
I understand the governor's going to be there?
no, Senator Armbruster.
Okay.
There.
Did you invite Lucero? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No.
I am.
But y'all are welcome, but that is a regional project.
We got a lot of people there.
We need all the help of this group to make it go beyond where it's going to be Friday. The Southmost Regional Water Authority, which there's several entities in southern Cameron County, the ports, members of that. We've got legislation pending to expand that to wastewater treatment as well, to do a regional, I know the port would like to get rid of their wastewater plants and be in a regional project, and I think that's going to work real well and where we can help. What I'd like to see is a coal plant at the port. That's something, you got coal coming into the port now. And
that's right.
We just acquired more Oakley Union, and it's going to lower our rates for our residents. We need this group to make that happen at the port and in the county, to sell it to help. As far as the port system, and I've been with PUB 28 years, and have seen a lot, and we've worked with the port boards over the years, at times have possibly taken over the system and their employees, so we can expand the system and make it a more up-to-date system or up to the growth that's out there. Some boards have been receptive, some have not wanted to discuss it, but I think our board would be receptive to open that dialogue and work with the port. If you're going to put an 8-inch water line out there, we might want to put a 16-inch water line. And it's a lot, we've got some horsepower to do some of those things in the utility business, and we are open to that going forward. But I think that we have a lot of things working right now, and it's particularly on the utility side, where we are working all together, and anything we can do, I know our past chairman is here, Chris, and the mayor. I think you'll support that, but I just wanted to say that we do have quite a few things going. So,
thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Any questions?
And again, I think that's the whole purpose of today is these are some of the projects that we all can work on together.
I would like to see in the future, you bring your engineers, we bring our engineers, because they're the ones who can tell us right off the bat, hey, this can be done. It's okay for me to be here, but if I don't know the difference between what an 8-inch line's gonna do to a 12-inch line, I don't know. You need city engineers. Even BISD needs to probably get involved, I guess, but your engineers need to be here. People who know whether something can be done with PUB. I know there's big fights and big things going on between the city and PUB. I never knew that. I thought PUB was a city before I got elected. But now I know how they all have to work off each other, and we can say what we want, but it all goes down to the engineers have to talk and see if it can be done. So I'd like to see more involvement with some of your staff who can answer more of the hard questions if something can be done, especially if this is going to move on to something good.
Mayor, I'd just like to say one final note on behalf of the folks here at the Port of Brownsville regarding the County Bridge Master Plan. We understand that the city also has a master plan that they're working on, and we're currently working on ours as well. And it would be great, if the three entities would come together at one point just to make sure that we don't overlap and come together with our master plan, so somehow it's intricately tied in together. I know in the next month or two, the folks that are doing our master plan are going to be providing us information on master plan, and Donna and the engineer, they've been working very closely together with these groups, and it would be a great thing for us to come together with these master plans down the road and really get a global picture of this, because we are thinking regionally, and when you do go out to either to the state or the federal to seek funding, they look at that global picture, and when they see three master plans simultaneously working together and tied in, it can definitely make a big impact.
That's absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank
Ben?
you.
Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. I think, you know, we've been talking about, and Pete was talking about, a staff interagency committee. Perhaps it would be a good idea to also include a PUB person there, because they are a big player in the
Yes.
entire community, as they've talked about, you know, doing
And
projects.
the
And the
school
master
district.
plan.
And the school district, yeah.
And the school district.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Ben Medina. I'm the planning director for the city, and Mr. Arambala, I guess you beat me to the punch, but it's not down the road, it's here where we can come together and pull together all of our master plans. Yes, the city on March the 6th will be kicking off their comprehensive plan, and I hope you all come. I assure you that you will get a personal invitation to come stand behind our mayor to kick off this endeavor. It's a 2-year project, but it's a project that affects all of us, because what you do at the port, what you do as an RMA, what you do as the county affects this total community of Brownsville. So I assure you that you'll get an invitation and come. We have a good consultant on board where we can come and pull together all of these plans that we have been doing for years. There are plans, but they're not really the community's plans and don't follow a combined vision. But that's what we want to do, and it's a project that the City Commission has, and as well as the GBIC and the BCIC have funded, and it's very important to us, it's very important to this committee. So on March the 6th, you will get an invitation to come and kick off this very, very
Actually, it's not, Mr. Reeves. This is a joint meeting, but if is.
He can speak.
Yeah, if you'd like a moment, go ahead and step to the mic. If you have a question, that'd be great.
More than anything, I always am observing. This is why I'm here today. I'm observing the powers of government here, the different districts that we have. And I'm just trying to remind you that we, the constituency, need more transparency and more accountability. And in anything that you're going to do, for example, with all due respect to Mr. Buziak, he's already in Laredo. You know, what are we doing in Laredo? The PUB is supposed to be Brownsville, not Laredo or whatever, you know. And the people of Brownsville need to know what you have in the future, what your plans are, and we need to also have reporting when these entities go to Washington and give us a brief of what was discussed. Is this on the record? Do we have the minutes of what was discussed? Because, for example, when the commission and the county judge and the group that went to New York last year or in January, I tried to get a report from the secretary. She brings me 600 pages of reports from the PUB. I said, all I need is a summary. What was discussed? What was the origin of the trip? What was it for? Who are the persons that went? Who are the players here? Who did they meet? Just things like that that we are supposed to know, the public. We are the government, the people. So I'm just going to, please, there be more transparency.
Let me address real quick for you, is in a brief minute. The desalination plant that Mr. Bruziak alluded to is a statewide project. Okay, we, along with 2 other locations, are trying to get the state of Texas to fund the construction and operation of this desalination project, which is obviously going to be a big benefit not only to South Texas. That's why other areas have to be involved. We need to make this as marketable as possible. We don't want this, talking about regional, we want this to be as far-reaching as possible. Laredo is the one who's interested in participating. Not that we're going and asking to do something for Laredo. It's the other way around.
Well, sir, if this is going to keep our electric rates lower, I have no problem.
Well, this is a water project, Mr. Reeves. It's a water project, but it's a state project.
They go in parallel.
That's right.
Mr. Reeves, just to follow up on we post our agenda, not only in public, but also on the website. And anytime anyone's going to travel to Washington, it's identified who's going to travel. And when we do come back, a report is given to the commissioners as to topics of discussion, like what Mr. Sepulveda did earlier about when we went to Austin. We talked to TxDOT about the issues are important. So we do, and maybe we need to do a better job of disseminating the information, to the general public. But our meetings can be watched on TV. We moved the meetings to 5:30 so everybody can attend, or I guess pick between y'all's and ours. But we are trying to be transparent.
Mr. Grasso, yes. Only it's hard to be in 4 places at the same time.
Mr. Reese, if anybody can do it, I know you could. Thank you.
Sure, heck, try.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
Mr. Chairman?
We have a motion to adjourn. Second. We have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Motion adjourned.
Thank you all for being with us. We're not adjourning, so y'all enjoy the rest of your meetings. But we will be in recess, Estella. All right. We now have a quorum. Item
Item A of the executive session, discussion pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code regarding pending litigation style golden spread versus City Brownsville.
So move to go executive session.
by Commissioner Nettles, second by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, I'll tell you what. Josh, can we put you off? All right. Mr. Goodman, are we acting on this tonight? Okay, well then we'll take it up at that point. TERS, is there an action item on TERS? Well, guess what? We'll take it up at that point too. Delina, where's Delina? There you are. All right. We'll do items A, B, and C. Let them do their presentations on the agenda items. But we'll get to item D right now for the workshop, Stella.
Item D, discussion regarding Brownsville Sports Park update and funding options for Phase 2.
Mayor, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, this is an update on the Brownsville Sports Park. Again, as you know, the master plan was 22 to 26. Phase 1 is 12 to 16. Again, that's exclusive of property, which was $2 million, and exclusive of architectural and engineering fees, which was 1.5. This is a master plan. Again, the construction budget was $12 million. The Phase 1A, the infrastructure costs have been $8.2 million. Phase 1B, which is primarily the soccer fields, are $4.2 million. Total cost is $12.4 million. The difference in this has been made up by the unrestricted BCIC funds and the accumulated interest. Again, this is another design of the sports park and starting to look at some of the different amenities. Construction work progress, what we're looking at here is the ongoing progress for the large lake at the bottom and the upper lake. Again, these are just different views of the construction work that is being done out at the sports park. There's a lot of different activity going on, and most of it has to do with the utilities and infrastructure. This is the upper lake that's being constructed. You will note here on this design the different types of fields, and what's already being prepared as a part of that infrastructure is the gradation on the actual fields. Although not noticeable in the photos, that's very important to ensure that we have proper drainage on all the different fields on site. In the utility work, again in this particular item, we've worked together with PUB for the lift station that we have to do, and we worked in conjunction with PUB to get an upgrade on that lift station for that PUB for future use. Here you'll see the different coloration as far as the progress that has been made in January, and in red the progress that is made in February having to do with the sanitary sewer. These are the different trenches that have been made for the sewer line. Same thing here for the storm sewer and drainage. The progress in December, the black lines, the red lines indicate the work that has been done in January. Same thing for the water lines and then the road. At this point in time, the curbing has already been put into the road. They're working on the curbing in the road that would go through the sports park. The question that has come up quite frequently is when are we going to look at phase 2, and this is one of the issues that the BCIC board is looking at. One of the reasons is that if we wait, the cost to build will continue to increase, the need will continue to rise, loss of revenue from lack of facilities for tournaments. Again, we have Mr. Keller, our Parks and Rec Director, has done an excellent job in bringing in tournaments, and since word of this park has gone out, we have received, both my office, Parks and Rec, and also the Brownsville Convention and Visitors Bureau has received lots of calls asking when the facility would be completed to bring down additional tournaments. If we also wait, we'd have to rebid the construction contract, which is another time period delay. We would also not be able to take advantage of current contractors having, and again, this 2006 subcontractor price contracts that are already in place. We would also not be able to take advantage of cost savings incurred by completing the infrastructure work. Although we've got most of it complete, we would not have to wait to go on ahead and redig and do the rest of it, and we could not take advantage of unit price cost savings by increasing the unit volume. The major causes of construction cost increases is there has been an increasing worldwide demand for construction materials, the rising crude oil prices, which of course impact on transportation costs, decreasing number of suppliers and shortage of construction materials, and decreasing number of bidders. Again, this information was gathered from the Department of Labor Statistics along with the Associated General Contractors and various sources of Department of Transportation, both from the federal level and different state levels. Again, the number of bidders has been decreasing. This impacts tremendously on cost because of a decreasing number of bidders means higher prices. There's been a market trend toward this. There's been a market trend toward the shrinking of number of local firms. There's been an increase in construction market opportunities, and there's been a downsizing of workforce and shortages of skilled labor. The cost of construction also, we have the Department of Labor Producer Price Index. The national trend in the last 2 years has been an increase from 8 to 13% versus a historical level of 2%, and this is substantiated also by studies done by such agencies as the State Department of Transportation, who has also noted these trends where generally there was a flat line of at about 1.5% on growth, but since 2001 it's been at 8%. Again, the Associated General Contractors also issued a special report in March over concerns of these increasing costs. Again, they were stable up to about 2003, and since then have been climbing at about 6%, and that's a projection annually from there on. These graphs just show that market increase that has occurred from that time period. So we're looking at various funding alternatives to address trying to commence on phase 2. Some of these alternatives include either allocated amount from a yearly budget, allocate the full BCIC annual project budget until the park is completed, take out additional bonds, use a Texas leverage fund, although there is a max of $3 million and it does consist of a floating prime rate, and sponsorships and grants. However, those are limited in availability and amounts, but regardless of scenario, those will be continued to be sought. Major cost areas that we're looking at, again, as I mentioned earlier, primarily what we're doing in this particular phase at the current time is the soccer area. Other areas and costs associated with them, this is the baseball complex at 3.2, softball at 2.6, youth field including the Miracle Field at $2 million, the admin building at 430, maintenance building at 295. Again, there's pros and cons to each of these areas. If we look at allocating a percentage of yearly budget, there'll be an available project budget to continue funding other projects annually. Some of the disadvantages are that the park will be a continual construction site. Unit cost savings will not be realized. Annual construction increases will continue, and there will be a problem to maintain a contract with a contractor. And thus, again, we're looking at a time spread. As far as allocating the full project budget, one of the positive things here is the construction period will be much less than the prior scenario. However, again, the unit cost savings will not be realized. The annual construction costs, of course, will continue to increase. We'll have, again, the problems to maintain a contract. And in this scenario, we'll have no available project budget to continue funding other projects, at least for about 6 years. In the scenario of trying to take out additional bonds, there will be an available project budget to continue funding other projects annually. The park will be substantially completed in a reasonable period. We can take advantage of the unit cost savings. We can avert annual construction increases, and we can take advantage of our current contractor contract and a subcontractor agreements that are already in place with prior year prices. And it's a cost-effective way to complete the infrastructure. Again, for the bond, the interest rates are still at approximately 5%. And again, it is backed by BCIC funds from the quarter-cent sales tax that we currently receive. This is not funded by a property tax increase, and it would not be funded by any increase in sales tax. These are the various scenarios that we looked at the various cost amounts. What you'll see is the budget amount is the actual fiscal year 2006 budget at $3.7 million, and again, assuming a straight line. As you'll see the debt service, what the existing plus new, and what the existing project balance would be. So that would be the funds that would be available for funding new projects. So we looked at the scenario of $5 million, $7 million, $10 million, and $12 million. I don't know if, Mayor, at this point in time, you'd like Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Hinojosa to make comments, or wait until we look at the actual item.
Well, I'd like that, but they're not here, so.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Oh, Pete, okay. That, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
One of the items that was considered last night at the BCIC board meeting was the question that was asked for the financial advisors is to come up, let's say we come up with a $600,000 debt service requirement. How much bonds would that generate if we would set aside $600,000 in additional debt service requirements? And that generates about $7.2 million in new bonds. So we were looking at 5, 7, 10, or 12. The $600,000 would generate for us in new money of $7,261,000.
All right. Any questions? Thank you, Pete. Anything additional, Ms. Barrera?
And again, the reason that we had Mr. Hinojosa is because this is what his recommendation was, and the board was very concerned about ensuring that they were fiscally responsible in the action that they were taking, and also to ensure, like I said, that there are funding available for future projects.
Dr. Barrera, so 4B hasn't made any recommendation as to what it feels might be in the best interest for us to pursue?
Yes, sir.
Certain amount.
What Mr. Gonzalez was talking about, what the financial advisor, Mr. Hinojosa, recommended was to cap it at about $600,000, and that is the board recommendation was to cap it at $600,000. Again, what they're trying to do is of additional debt. What they're trying to do is also take advantage of the current of what's going on right now as far as the city also going up for additional bonds.
The consensus on the board was to proceed with caution and to, because I know us three, we sit on the 4B board, and to be fiscally responsible.
Real conservative with that.
Very, very conservative.
That's good. Thank you.
But the rec is to do the
Cap
A or
it
the
at
B.
600,000.
Yeah, the 600,000.
And wherever 600,000
That's what we
payment
would
took
utilize.
us to,
Okay.
which was what, Pete, 7.2, is that what you said?
And
So what
let's
you would,
see.
so what you would see is that we would still, at that amount, given our current FY 2006 funds that we received, we would still have a project balance of about 1.7 million to use each year.
And then the facilities that would be, well, that are still pending for Phase 2, are those on that slide number 36?
Yes, sir. What we, at this
Baseball
point in time, what
complex,
we would
that
do is
one, yeah.
probably then go to the recommendation of both the contractor and people involved to see which would be most advantageous to take advantage of in using those funds, and try to take advantage of all the different items at this point in time. So what you're looking at is, there's various scenarios that could occur by infusing that additional money at this point in time.
Mayor, we get caught in a situation where do you build the park to its completion and have a sitting 4B board for the next 2 to 3 years without any projects to do. We weren't ready for that. We need to leave future boards, you know, the possibilities of going into future projects. So that's why we decided to go at a cap at 7.2 mil.
And I agree. I think that's, but what I'm asking is, those are the items that you hope to do in that range
Correct.
of between 5 to 7 million.
Correct.
Right? The baseball, softball, the youth fields, and then the 2 buildings.
Right.
The
Again,
administrative
obviously, it exceeds that amount, so we'd have to work with the contractor to see
What else?
what we could do.
Other than these projects, what else is left pending after these are done?
Probably the major item, next large major item would probably be the skateboard park, because if we do it as is requested by the public, you're talking about 300,000 to do that particular. So that would be probably the other major item left. Many of the smaller items would be able to be picked up.
On a yearly basis, on a cash outlay.
Right, and that's exactly what Mr. Hinojosa recommended, is that since we will have a substantial amount left on an annual basis, that it would be in our best interest to pursue it on an annual basis based on the funding, based on a cash basis.
Okay.
And we still have the opportunity to seek private funds, so.
Yeah, that hasn't been done. Okay.
That hasn't been done.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Barrera. We'll see you in a few minutes. All right, if I could please ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
Leading us this evening in the invocation is Pastor Victor Alvarez from Iglesia Bautista Fundamental. Ladies and gentlemen, I would please ask this particular evening that you keep Mr. Charlie Cavler, our city manager, and his family in your prayers for the unfortunate passing of his father over the weekend. Charlie and his family and his father are definitely in our prayers this evening.
Let us pray. Father, as we come before you, we thank you for the opportunity to be here. We pause to pray for Charlie and his family, and as his father's gone on home, that you would just give peace to the entire family. We remember our parents, and we now pray for him as he sees his father going home. Father, as for this meeting, we pray that you would guide, give wisdom, and Father, to all the commissioners and the mayor and everything that's discussed here today, that we may become a better city and a more united city. And help us, Father, keep ourselves out of what we do and be in for what we're here to do. Give them unity, give them wisdom, give them insight, and more than anything, Father, patience, that we may accomplish those great things that are before us in the days to come with the city of Brownsville. Again, we pray for Charlie and his family. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor. All right, we have 3 proclamations this evening. Who's here for the National Children's Dental Health Month? Doctor, how are you? Go ahead, if you could step forward. This is a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, designating February 2007 as National Children's Dental Health Month in our city. Whereas the month of February has been designated National Children's Dental Health Month by the American Dental Association, and whereas the City of Brownsville is extremely proud to recognize dentists who care and its volunteer dentists, and whereas this unique, nonprofit organization is dedicated to enhancing and improving the quality of life of the Valley's indigent children through access to oral health care, and whereas Dentists Who Care Incorporated on November the 15th, 1996, provide the children of Brownsville with a wide array of services, including free dental examinations, x-rays, extractions, cleanings and fillings, and whereas Dentists Who Care has proven to be an invaluable asset to the young people of Brownsville, and the genuine concern displayed by these charitable volunteers will undoubtedly have a positive impact on the future of the Valley and its youth. Now therefore, we the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, and on behalf of all of our citizens, do hereby designate February 2007 as National Children's Dental Health Month in our city, and further commend all dentists who are giving their time, skill, and expertise toward the dental health of the young people of Brownsville, done on this the 20th day of February 2007 by the City Commission of Brownsville. Thank you so much for everything you do. Say a few words there at the mic. And don't start by saying open up, please.
Dentistry Care is an organization, and we've got over 139 dentists in the Rio Grande Valley who donate their time at no compensation. We have two programs. We have a mobile dental unit that drives around taking care of kids, and we've got Valley Smile coupons where the school nurses are our gatekeepers. They find us kids that need help. There's no money, there's no insurance, and there's no other option because we're it. You know, nobody else does dentistry but a dentist. So we work on these kids, and since 1998, we have donated we were billing for this $1.9 million in the Rio Grande Valley. We've seen over 19,000 kids, and 3,700 are Brownsville kids, and 80% of these kids came from homes with less than 80% income. We got awards. You know, we've got the 1999 Governor's Award. We've got the American Dental Association, Texas Dental Association Volunteer Award, and we were a regional winner for the J.C. Penney's Golden Rule Award. Our funding comes from grants, fundraisers, community contributions, block grants, and we want to thank you for supporting the Dentists Who Care. We appreciate genuinely the assistance for the community development staff provides. Thank you for letting us help. We really do appreciate it. You know, we want to help.
Thank you for keeping Brownsville and our children, most importantly, from smiling. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, our next proclamation is the Brownsville Learners Club, Commissioner Camarillo. Welcome.
Hello. Come on up. Hi, how are you? Thank you.
A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, commemorating the Learners Club on its 100th birthday. Whereas the Learners Club, an organization dedicated to intellectual and cultural studies and community involvement, was organized on November the 27th, 1906, has for the past 100 years contributed mightily to the development and the growth of the library system in Brownsville. And whereas the Learners Club started the city's first subscription library on July 15th, 1912, later moving to the Celaya building on 12th and East Elizabeth Street, and during the 1914-1915, those library services were expanded to include a story hour and a rural library. And whereas the City of Brownsville in 1928 joined the Learners Club and built a building at 1010 East Adams Street, which was the library's home for 26 years before moving to the Fort Brown Civic Center in 1954, and eventually to the state-of-the-art facility at 2600 Central Boulevard in 1995. And whereas the Learners Club has generously given to the library books, historical maps, American flag artifacts, and now a limited edition bronze sculpture, Ponytails, by sculptor Mark Hopkins, in keeping with the club's creed, stating its belief in the necessity of culture, in the importance of study, and in the joy of learning. And whereas the Learners Club is a dedicated group of no more than 25 members and now spans a century of learning. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the Charter of said city, do hereby recognize and thank the Learners Club for its dedication to learning and to the concept of a public library in Brownsville over the past 100 years. Done on this, the 20th day of February 2007. Signed by Mayor Eddie Trevino Jr. and the rest of the City Commission.
We know that. We know that.
Thank you. On behalf of the Learners Club, it is with humble appreciation that I, Vicki Johnston Moser, Learners President, accept this city proclamation marking the centennial year of the Pioneer Women's Study Club of the Rio Grande Valley. As the Learners Club marks its centennial year of educational and cultural adventures, it is appropriate that we reflect on the club's motto, "Wisdom by study must be won." According to the late Mrs. Ruby A. Wooldridge, longtime member, Brownsville historian, and beloved teacher, women throughout the country felt a need for intellectual stimulation at the turn of the 20th century. Large numbers of clubs were organized, including the Learners Club, to study literature, promote culture, and strive for mental improvement of its members. The Learners were organized with 18 charter members on November 27, 1906, with officers Mrs. Jessie O. Wheeler, President, Mrs. E.P. Barber, Vice President, Mrs. E.G. Kellogg, Corresponding Secretary, and Ms. Zoe Wells, Parliamentarian. At the Learners' first meeting on January 3, 1907, members discussed the need for a public library in the community. Book donations and book purchases by the club allowed the Learners to establish the first subscription library, which was housed in various historical sites in downtown Brownsville. This community effort provided the soldiers of Fort Brown with reading materials. In a cooperative effort, the soldiers, in turn, assisted in the move of library books to larger quarters as the library holdings grew. In 1928, the first permanent library facility was established by the City of Brownsville at 1010 East Adams. In 1993, in support of the Brownsville Public Library Foundation, the Learners financed a computer, typewriter, study room at the Brownsville Public Library main branch on Central Boulevard. Over the years, the Learners Club has donated books, historical maps, and an American flag to further our educational commitment to the Brownsville community. In recognition of our 100th year, the Learners' present slate of officers, Vicki Johnston Moser, Sandra Altemeyer, Eileen Domage, Nancy Dixon Johnston, Ruth Kalesa, Mary D. Nesbitt, and Mary Hicks, and the membership who join me today, proudly present Ponytails, a limited edition bronze sculpture by Mark Hopkins to the Children's Department of the Brownsville Public Library's main branch. We look forward to continuing to serve the many needs of our community in educational and cultural advancement. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go down to the library. It's behind the information desk. It's a darling little girl in ponytails reading a book. And we want to promote children learning and reading in our community, and we've been able to do that with the help of the library. So thank you very much for having us today and for recognizing our 100th year.
I'm all for reading. Thank you, Vicki. All right, we have one proclamation left, a very special one this evening. If I could please ask Ms. Lucio to step forward. Consuelo Lucio, Commissioner Atkinson has the honors.
I want to read this to a very special lady who comes from a very special family, and this proclamation is well deserving, and I want to read it. It's a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, recognizing Consuelo Lucio for her many years of community service. Whereas Consuelo Lucio, a native of Brownsville, is approaching the 78th year of her life, a life that has largely been dedicated to helping others while expecting few, if any, rewards. And whereas Consuelo Lucio is a proud mother of 10 children who, after 18 years as a stay-at-home mom, decided at the age of 39 to get her GED, and soon thereafter went to work for the Cameron-Willacy County's community projects, assisting the indigent and elderly of both counties. And whereas at that time Consuelo Lucio did not know how to drive a car, did not have a driver's license, and was forced to walk to neighborhoods of East Brownsville in order to help her clients. But in 1972, she learned to drive and acquired her driver's license, and was then enabled to significantly expand the area of her efforts. And whereas in the days before food stamps, surplus commodities were distributed to the needy, and Consuelo Lucio would personally deliver commodities to those unable to pick them up. And whereas, while serving on the board of the Good Neighbor Settlement House and Immaculate Conception Cathedral, Consuelo Lucio, with the help of her 6 daughters, embarked on a project to provide complete Thanksgiving meals to those who would otherwise do without. And this now traditional program continues to provide for those in need. And whereas, after undergoing double bypass heart surgery in 1992, Consuelo Lucio continued to work, finally retired in 2000 at the age of 71, and the CWCCP showed its appreciation by naming the center from which she worked the Consuelo Lucio Multi-Service Center. And whereas she continued to help those in need until she required another heart surgery in 2004, wow, from which she recovered and today continues to do what she loves best, helping her friends and neighbors. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city, do hereby recognize Consuelo Lucio for her long dedication to those around her, and further applaud her many years of public service, and wish her many, many more years of bringing happiness and joy to those who are most in need. Done on this day, the 20th of February, 2007, signed by our great Mayor, Eddie Trevino, Richard Longoria, Carlos Cisneros, myself, Edward Camarillo. Sally was out of town. Thank you, and well-deserving.
I too would like to thank the city of Brownsville for their help with the kids for Christmas. The chief, Carlos Garcia, will always donate us some toys, so we give them out to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lucio, for everything you've done for us, and I know what you're going to continue to do in the future. God bless you and your family.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, item 2.
Item 2, consent agenda items A through F.
So move. Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Cisneros. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 3.
Item 3, consideration and action to appoint or reappoint 7 members to the Brownsville Public Library System Advisory Board and change the appointment term on 2 current members.
Good evening, Commissioners, Honorable Mayor.
You're not bringing us money, Jerry? Oh, that's
Later
a
this
first.
evening. First off, I would like to say that the Brownsville Public Library Advisory Board, I'm sorry, the Brownsville Public Library Board is needing to replace Ms. Tilly Garza, who has been a cherished member of our community for many, many long years. And due to health reasons, she can no longer serve on the board. The Library Board is recommending to the City Commission Mrs. Karen Pena as a possible candidate for her replacement. And that's the first individual I'd like to bring to the Commission tonight.
We have to do it individual, or, yeah, right? No?
That's the only one you're bringing this evening, right?
Actually, that is for a replacement. The other ones are consideration for reappointment.
Also move to appoint Ms. Pena.
Hold on a second, because Tilly was for those of you who don't know, Tilly's Mother Goose, and she has advocated reading for her
Mother
for
Goose.
forever. And unfortunately, she has some health issues. So I'll make the motion to nominate Ms. Pena to replace Ms. Garza.
Second.
All right. We have a seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now you have some reappointments.
Yes, Mr. Merrill Hammonds, Mrs. Rosemary Lehman, Graciela de Peña, Rosie Escorena, Fernando Champion, and Consuelo Aguilar are all up for consideration of reappointment.
Mayor, I'm the commissioner that sits on library, and let me tell you that all of these people are wonderful people and have done a wonderful job. So can we run a slate, and I just move that we reappoint them all?
Second.
A motion to reappoint all library board members that are up for reappointment by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Keep up the great work. And express our thanks and gratitude to all the board members. Item 4.
Item 4, consideration and action to appoint 3 citizens to the Brownsville Citizens Advisory Committee.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. The BCAC is getting ready to reconvene this year to consider HUD entitlement grants and making recommendations to the Commission. Currently, there's 3 vacancies, one in Commissioner Atkinson's district, one in Commissioner Camarillo's district, and one in at-large number 2, which is vacant right now. But Mayor can appoint there.
Okay. All right. We have Commissioner Atkinson. Do you have somebody?
Carlos Huerta.
Okay, we have a
Carlos.
motion by.
Second that.
Carlos Huerta. He does live in. No, I don't think it's necessary that they live in your district. Motion by Commissioner Atkinson for Carlos Huerta.
No, it is.
Seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries.
Mayor, I would like to appoint Mrs. Ana Perez.
We have a motion by Commissioner Camarillo for Ana Perez.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. We'll make that appointment at the next meeting.
Okay, fine.
I'll take care of it at the next meeting.
Thank
The
you.
person I had in mind didn't get back in touch with me. All right, item 5.
Item 5, public hearing and action to authorize the issuance of a new taxi cab permit to Mr. Francisco Santibáñez on a 2001 Ford Escape, which will be operating for Valley Taxi.
Anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Good morning, Commander.
I'm trying to handle a couple of things at the same time. The item is for a new taxi cab license, and this particular one is for Mr. Jesus Cavazos.
Francisco Santibáñez.
We'll put it at 69, Commissioner, out of 125. It's a new application.
I see that this was tabled at the last meeting that I was.
Yeah, what?
Was there a reason? Was there any concern?
Chief tabled it.
Oh, okay.
Because of pending information that
All
he
right.
still needed at the department.
So that's all.
He's obtained the information, he's making the application.
All right. Recommending
Make a
approval?
motion to approve.
All right.
Move to
hold
close
on.
public-
We have a
sorry. Move to
Motion to
close
close public hearing by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Longoria,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 6.
Item 6, public hearing and action to authorize the issuance of a new taxi cab permit to Mr. Jesus Cavazos on a 2002 Dodge Caravan, which will be operating for Valley Taxi.
This is a new application also. This will put us at 70 out of a possible 125 licenses.
All right, this is a public hearing.
So move to close.
Motion to close by Commissioner Nettles,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 7.
Thank you, and
Item
Thank you,
7,
Commander.
Item 7, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 2007-1100-.43 to amend ordinance number 1100 by readopting the Heritage Plan and dealing with related matters, including $2,000 penalties.
Mayor, City Commissioners, my name is Joe Gavito. I'm the Heritage Officer for the City of Brownsville. This is the 20th year that the Heritage Plan has been in existence. This puts Brownsville as a leader of historic preservation. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Peter Goodman, who's going to give you a few of the projects that are happening right now in downtown as far as preservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gavito. Mr. Goodman?
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, just a few little highlights of some of the things that have been happening in the last year, and these are some of the projects that benefit from the Heritage Plan and from your cooperation and the other taxing entities to give these folks some incentive. That building is 409 East 13th Street between Levy and Elizabeth. Some of you may remember it as Aldana Travel. That's sort of what it looked like when it was Aldana Travel. And then about a year and a half ago, a gentleman moved to town that I'm sure most of you know by now, Mark Clark. That's what it looked like still a year and a half ago. Mark retired from many years with the Smithsonian Institute. He and his wife Betty moved to Brownsville. That's Mark up there. Mark, like so many of the people who do renovations, actually do a lot of the work on their own. Mark's also an accomplished artist and volunteers a lot of his time at the Art Museum. That's the work in progress. What Mark's aim, and a lot of these folks' aim, is to bring it back to the way it was. And this building was close to 100 years old. It actually, for a short time, that's the Webb Miller Drugstore is its proper name, and it was two buildings. For a short time, it was also the Confederate Post Office in Brownsville. In progress? That's all the original beams. What Mark did was take out all the sheetrock, everything that didn't belong in there, some 1940s renovations that have been made, and bring the building back. All the original arches, although I believe that arch was put in by Mark to get from one side of the building to the other on the ground floor. And that's completed. Mark's made, what that building is now, if you don't know, is Brownsville's only, certainly only downtown art gallery. March 1st will be another opening. Mark has very successful openings. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's cold or rainy, the place is packed. We get students, we get professors, we get architects, we get a cross-section of the community. Actually, a lot of folks and artists come down from McAllen and Harlingen every time he has an opening. But Thursday, March 1st at 7 p.m.
This Thursday?
March 1st.
March 1st.
March 1st. We took advantage of Mark, and we always do. This was on Scouts Day. That was the scout that Joe and I was helping, Ms. Garcia. And so she got to see some of the artwork. Mark's an excellent teacher and loves to explain what he's done to the building as well as the artwork. Mark is also a very accomplished artist. Mark's finished that building, and the habit of a lot of folks now in Brownsville who are doing these renovations is, well, gee, I finished one, I want to do another one. This building is the old Tamayo store. Brownsville, according to Stephen Fox, the architect, a fellow out of Houston, who is from Brownsville originally and the biggest expert on architecture for the Rio Grande Valley, says that Brownsville had more corner grocery stores than probably any other city in the state of Texas. The Tamayo store was one of them. Buildings like the Cueto building, the Pacheco building, the Alonzo building, those were all buildings that were big enough where the groceries and whatever hardware were downstairs and the families live upstairs. This is a very small building, but Mark's now taken this on as his second project, and he will bring it back to the way it looked probably about 80 years ago as well. This one was just started about 2 weeks ago. You may not recognize it. If you drove down 13th Street, it was the bright yellow one next to Church's Chicken. It was the De La Rosa perfumes. Mr. De La Rosa sold perfume out of there for many years.
Yeah.
But like many of our buildings, it had been stuccoed. So the new owner, the first thing that they've asked us to help them with is they started removing the stucco. In fact, Mark helped them take off the first pieces of stucco. And happily, all the yellow is going with the stucco. That building's going to need a lot of work. It's actually two buildings also, and there's a lot of cracks that you really can't see very well. But there are a lot of cracks, and some of them were covered with cement. That cement's all going to be removed. It doesn't come off as easily as the stucco does. But that building will be put back in its original shape. Interestingly enough, that building served as a military prison. It's a fascinating city, Brownsville. There you can see it was some of the yellow up. But 2 or 3 workmen did this in about 3 days. 4 days took down that whole front of stucco. Hammer and a chisel. Mark showed them how, real gently so it doesn't mar the brick. This building is a little infamous, I suppose, and some of you may remember it. It's the Toucan Lounge on Monroe. And it's been purchased by an attorney in the city, and he's going to bring it back to the way it was and take all the stucco off it. All the area in the back, well, that's the inside. Again, those are all original beams, no water damage, nothing. Has just started clearing it out.
Not going to be a bar, right?
There was a bar, yes.
No, it's not going to be a bar.
I'm not sure what they're going to do with it yet.
Well, if it's a lawyer, you never know.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for any attorneys, but the back had a lot of little ambient structures on it that were used for storage and carports, and those have all been demolished and removed. That was the first step. When he bought that one, he also bought the little house that's kind of Pepto-Bismol colored next to it. And originally they thought maybe they'd use it for parking, but it turned out when you go in that house, it may not look like much from outside, but it's probably in the best condition of any old vacant house we've ever seen. I mean, the floors are intact, the walls are intact, the ceilings are intact, so they're going to repaint it, fix it up, and they'll find some use for it. They may just rent it out, but it will not be a parking lot. That, of course, is the corner of 12th and Adams. And as you can see, the lower floors of the Hotel Economico, and all the windows have been replaced in the Hotel Economico in that building. And he's got 4 or 5 renters downstairs now, and he's hoping to fill it up. And of course, the building on the corner has all been repainted, and that's been owned by another family for quite a number of years. They just haven't made up their mind what they want to do with it yet. But these are all buildings and owners that get a slight incentive out of that tax break that you folks will have the opportunity to vote on in a minute. The Bolak building, when you were kids, you remember it as a hardware store. And I think, do we have one? Yeah. If you look at the San Ramon building right to the right of it, it's all covered with stucco. That's what the Bolak building looked like 2 years ago. None of that blue was there, none of the windows were there, everything was covered with stucco. At phenomenal expense, I have to tell you, the owner of El Toro, who was renting it, bought that building. And he grew up in Matamoros, and he remembered his dad bringing him there when it was a department store, and he said, you know what, I want it to look like I remember it when I was a kid. The top arched windows, for instance, the wood had rotted out. Those were handmade in Monterey out of mahogany. And each one of the little pieces up on the corner, so there was one left out of 16 pieces. He had a mold made, and in Coahuila, they made all 16 of them. I don't even want to tell you what this cost. Forget the installation, just to manufacture those pieces. There were also a series of angel faces over the first floor windows that you really can't see. Well, you see them as white dots. There was one of those left. He had a mold made, also Coahuila. They made them from that one fiberglass mold, and they're all back there now. And the only thing he's got left is the old awning. Basically what he did when we blocked this building. The Heritage Council blocked the building from an exemption, as we did the San Ramon, because it just stands there, but it doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like historically. And no money's been put into it, and so why should we be giving them a tax exemption? So when the owner of El Toro, who bought the Bolak building, came to us and said, what do I need to do to get that tax exemption? We gave him a photograph of the building from 1911, which is when it was built. And we said, you do this, and the Heritage Council will consider it. He came in 2 weeks later with a drawing that was practically a tracing, brick for brick, inch by inch, of putting it back just the way it was from the 1911 photograph. And that's why it's been taking him 3 years. Actually, some of the brick he's had to replace on the lower floors is only about this long. And it took him 6 months to find the brick to match it. So, if you recall, that's why there was a scaffold up there for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But all he's got left now is the canopy to do. And it was a metal canopy, and he's going to do that. That's the old Aturia Bank building just down the block. It just sold. And the new owner is going to fix that up. Fixing that one up just means basically cleaning it up, repainting it, taking off the old signage, that's not being used. And again, the only thing original on that building left is the facade. The inner walls are not original anymore. But it is a state site, a state historic site. And it would be nice if we could get the metal sheeting off the Vogue on the corner. County Courthouse, obviously, everybody knows a lot of money was spent on it, but that was part of the Texas Courthouse program. They were done all over the state, and I think everybody agrees, if you've seen it, they did a fabulous job. This was a house that was recently purchased on Washington Street, just behind one of the bank ATMs, by another attorney who's going to fix it up and make an office out of it.
Which is that one?
It's on Washington, whoops, let me get back there. Washington and I believe 7th Street. Building's actually not in bad shape. That's just a copy of the Lucena House, which is the one that we moved from 12th Street with the help of the university to next to the Cueto. And this is a project of Susan Askelin, who's on that offshoot of Brownsville Housing Authority, to build affordable infill housing for folks who can't afford you know, they've got a limited income and they need to qualify and don't want to move out in the suburbs somewhere and want a house that looks historic where they grew up. They want to stay downtown. Their relatives are down here, their friends are down here, and we have to find them different designs that fit downtown, and this was one of the favorites. And this house is actually rented now. It's a transitional family. So when they get on their feet, they'll be moving on, and another family will get to rent this house. It's right next to the high-rise, right down on the corner by the high-rise. But it's a faithful copy, just made smaller, of the actual Lucena house, which is about the second oldest house, second only to the Neal house in Brownsville, second only wood house. And Susan found a contractor that did a fabulous job, again with the help of Larry Loff, and Joe and I worked with him and a bunch of other people to try and make it a faithful representation. And that's when they had the BHA had its opening of it. The infamous Neutra House, Krager House, well underway. The college has gone to phenomenal expense on this building. Just the metal trim that you can't see very well that goes around the gutters, which has a striation in it, which was particular to Neutra. Larry Loff had to find somebody in Mexico who could manufacture the wheel that made the striations on the sheet metal, because there was no factory that still manufactured this, although it was common in the 30s and up until the 50s. And of course, then they had to buy a certain amount of it. But they paid a very handsome price for it. The problem was that when it got here and the sheet metal folks in McAllen had to straighten it to get it and cut it to get it to fit and bend it, it bowed. And so to keep it flat, what had to happen was Larry had them take that off 3 times. And the cost of doing that, just doing that metal trim, is what the average price of a house is in Brownsville today. And I think most of you probably have a pretty good idea what that is. And that's just to do the metal trim. And they're almost completed with the outside of the house, the outside framing. The house was about ready to just, 70–80% of it was gone. Daniel Carey came down from the National Trust a few weeks ago and took a look at it, and they're thrilled with what's happening. We're now held up as the example of how to save modern architecture. Things are happening in West Brownsville. This is down on West 12th Street. I wish I had befores and afters and time to show you all of these, but if you had seen that house a year before, and this was purchased by a fellow who lives in Austin and just wants to come down here for weekends and vacations, and has gone through a total restoration on that house. And the nice thing about doing something like that, aside from the fact that he's a wonderful guy and went through a great expense and he loves the house, and we hope he enjoys it, and he always invites folks over, which is nice, and it's encouraged other people, like the people across the street, to redo their house. I wish you'd seen that one a year ago. But those are folks that already lived there and just had never done anything to fix up their house, but they took a look at what he was doing across the street, and so they did theirs as well.
Peter, what do you mean by included $2,000 penalties? What is that?
Excuse me?
$2,000 penalties. I know it's in the agenda. What related matters, including $2,000 penalties?
Commissioner Atkinson, as a heritage officer, I have the authority to fine anyone for violating heritage ordinances. And so that 2,000 fine is the limit that is set on a fine per day. And so that's
$1,000 per day?
It's a standard way of presenting an agenda item. And that I do have the authority to fine someone that's in violation of a heritage ordinance. And then I've never used it.
Okay, great. I was like, what?
The heritage plan.
Let me first congratulate you, Peter and Joe. I know it's been a long struggle, and I think you literally are seeing some, you're giving birth every time you show us some of these new homes or old homes that are being renovated and refurbished. So I commend you on your dedication. I know you probably wondered if you'd ever get here. I think you're onto something tremendous. We've all known the asset that was untouched in downtown Brownsville. This is a public hearing. Any other comments?
Move to close.
Motion to close by Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. On your way home, drive by 8th and Washington across from Power Furniture and take a look at what's happening to a building that sat there for 40 years with nobody touching it. And it's been sold, and now I've got somebody who wants to buy it from the guy who just bought it.
All right. Excuse me, Mr. Ayala. Is there any way we can put some air conditioning? Man, it's hot in here, man. They can raise the AC just a little bit.
Item 8.
Item 8, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number
Unbutton the coat.
235-2007-001-S to allow a light retail beauty salon in a professional office for Lot 1, Block 27 of original town site located near East St. Charles Street and East First Street.
Honorable City Commission, in this particular case, the applicant would like to have a beauty salon. And the area is shaded on the map. It is a specific use. It's an existing home. The family would like to use part of their home for a beauty salon. The Plan Zoning Commission voted unanimous to recommend this application to you.
All right, this is a public hearing.
Move to close.
Motion to close by Commissioner Longoria.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 9.
Item 9, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2007-002-S to allow a professional offices in a dwelling zone of Lot 3, Block 1 of Diamond Point 2, located near Alton Glory and Tandy Road.
Honorable Commission, this is a specific use. The area is shaded in red. As you can see, it's in Alton Glory. The area green is that's the vermilion that we had last year. That's going to say that specific use, and then the blue and the purple there is right next to the railroad track. In this particular case, the applicant would like to have professional offices. It is a specific use.
The track is in between the blue and the purple.
And the purple, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
And the Plan Zoning Commission voted unanimously to approve this recommendation to you.
All right, this is a public hearing. I see Mr. Ruiz. Please step forward, sir.
Hi, my name is Roberto Ruiz. I'm an adjacent owner to this property. I hate to contradict Ben, but that's the wrong site. It actually is a little bit closer to the west of where it's shown right now. That's just a minor thing. That's it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's the wrong map.
That's the wrong map, right?
Yeah. Do I have the point?
Yeah, on the picture, it's the same site, right?
Yeah, but it's
oh,
fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well, while they get that, Roberto, go ahead and.
What I wanted to just bring up, that I commend this applicant coming forward to us in the neighborhood. As you know, the controversy has been brewing over there, and we have no problem with this gentleman. He came up, stepped to the plate. He asked us what does he need to do to make this project a go. And what we did is we sat down with him. I commend the planning department, Noe and Ben, for sitting down with us. And what we did is basically sit down with him. We put him, gave him a list of restrictions and things that he did complies. Is no problem. I'd be more than happy to comply. Under the circumstances, this is a special use permit that he got. He did not go to a rezone. Contrary to the other applicants that have been coming up, this is something that I like for you all and any applicant coming up to recommend that this is the way to go. I think it's a mutual understanding if we come before we come to you all and have an understanding as to what needs to go on. That's a method of coming together and making sure these projects are go. So I'd like for you to consider that any other application in this particular area, which there's very, very few, would be handled in the same manner.
Well, and you know as well as we do that we can certainly make that recommendation. We can't tell people how they want to do it, but I would think that if they know that by following this method and manner that he may have some more neighborly neighbors and more support for whatever project, I think that would be in their best interest. But obviously that, all we can do is say, hey, this works. This seems to have been working better through specific use versus rezoning. Now, do you have any problems with this one? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, the applicant came, we went in front of PNC. It took about 10 minutes. Okay. There was no argument. There's no question as to what needed to be done. He has a professional use. He's going to, put all
it's an office building, right?
No,
professional office.
It's great. I think this is the way to go. And please consider that in any time an application comes up.
All right. This is a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Reese. Appreciate it.
Second.
Ben, were you going to say something?
Yes, and I apologize for the map, but the other site that I mentioned is another case that's coming at the next meeting, right adjacent to this, that's not a specific use, and that, I think that's what Mr. Reese was alluding to.
Oh, okay. All right. But this is the correct map. All right. A motion to close public hearing by Commissioner Atkinson.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 10.
Item 10, public hearing and action on first reading of ordinance number 235-2007-004 to rezone from dwelling F classification to professional office G, 1C G classification, south half of 14.58 acres of Reserve A of El Chaparral subdivision, section 4, located near Alton Glore Boulevard and Pablo Casel.
Honorable Mayor and City Commission, this property is facing Pablo Quisel. As you can see on the map, that the area is shaded in red. Right on Alton Glore, north of this property is the Herman's Optical. And then the F right next to that G is Ben's Liquor. In this particular case, the applicant is rezoning to market his property. The Plan and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend this application to you.
What are they rezoning it to?
They're rezoning it to professional office G, first commercial.
Okay, and it's
Pablo Quisel.
Where's Pablo Quisel right? Is that all?
It's this road right here.
That ain't working.
I don't see it up there, but Pablo Quisel is right here.
It's the one running north-south? And then that one on kind of a little towards the middle, that's Alton Glore?
There we go.
And where's, okay. Is that on?
This is Pablo Quisel.
Oh, that's Pablo Quisel?
Yeah. And here's Alton Glore.
What's the?
Where's Alton?
Is that the hospital or what is that?
No. The hospital's over here.
Oh, that's Wynwood.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what's already there.
I can't.
Cause I'm
Ben's
confused.
Liquor, right, is on the corner?
Yeah, it's past Ben
Yeah,
Liquor.
but where? Is F Ben's Liquor?
G.
The F is Ben's Liquor.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there's no way.
Yes, and the church.
Oh, it's on the, it's, if you're coming from your house, Mayor, it's on the right-hand side.
Right there, that's Ben's Liquor.
Headed towards the bowling
There's
alley.
nothing at all there.
There's nothing here.
And that's where they're, okay. And it's just that portion?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing.
Move to close.
Motion to close by Commissioner Camarillo.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sinetos. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner
Second.
Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item.
Item 11, consideration and action on the revised master development agreement for the reinvestment zone number 2 between the City of Brownsville and University Park Development Limited.
And here, Mayor, I'm going to do the quick presentation that I had, the
Quick.
workshop.
Quick,
Real
quick,
real
quick, quick, quick.
So, Jessica, can you please get me to the presentation?
Hey, Mr., somebody stop Mr. Ruiz real quick.
And then also, I will ask you for, if you could read item 21, and that takes care of all this TERS business tonight. In this particular, TERS number 2, approved as City Ordinance 1427 in 2004. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. In this particular slide, we have that it was passed on November 2nd, 2004, and this TERS is what we know as Amigo Land area, which is 412 acres. And the total value of the area right now is $3 million. Okay, as members of this TERS, there's a TERS board. The board of directors consists of 9 members, of which 6 positions are city-appointed positions. The positions include Sandra Sweeney Wilson as the chair, Ernesto de Leon, Troy Whittemore, Morris L. Stein, and David Betancourt. The county has a representative of Sophie Benavides, and the Brownsville Navigation District has Mr. Louis Cristiano. Both of these entities are participating in the TERS. The TERS has been created and will expire on December 31st, 2005. And tonight, we have an item on the Master Development Agreement, a revised section that gives the city the option to opt out as well as the developer. But of course, all of the debt has to be paid, and then after that, they can terminate the TERS. The funding for the TERS will be deposited into a tax increment fund that will be deposited into the city, and this would be the increments of the new tax values that will be created in the TERS. And tonight, we have the first subdivision of the TERS. This is the TERS boundaries. As you can see here, this is what was going to be the Amigo Land theme park. And you have two fingers going out, which will be improvements to Palm Boulevard, the extension of Palm Boulevard, and also 6th and 7th Street. And this will be extensions of 6th and 7th Street to connect into downtown. But these projects are fundable projects that will be funded under the increments of the increments generated by the new investment. As you can see here, the highlighted in yellow, that's where the first subdivision of University Plaza Phase 1 will be located. The developer has gone out for bids on this first subdivision, and the city is being asked tonight to approve those bids. Next slide, please. And here's where the subdivision will be located again. That road that goes around that used to be the main road of the theme park, that road will be named Amigo Circle. The street inside the subdivision will be named UTB Lane. In this first subdivision, the area shaded in yellow would be 25 lots in this block, and the lots would average in size between 60 by 125 feet, and in the green as well, and there are 41 lots in that section. So, just in a nutshell, I've made my presentation brief, but this is what the first subdivision will look like. And tonight, under this item, number 11, there is a master development agreement, as I mentioned, but there is a change in the last page where it gives a section in there for the city to opt out of this agreement, as well as the developer, after all the debt has been paid, that has been incurred up to that point. So I ask for your approval. The developer is here, Mr. Koppel, if you have any questions. But
Are there any questions from the commission?
Mayor, I have one question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Ben, when we spoke earlier today in regards to the issue of change orders and how that could affect the city's perspective later on, and the amount of change orders and how that might work against us. What are we looking at to correct that, if anything?
On item 21, there's consideration to accept the lowest bid. The developer has gone out for bids, published in the paper. City engineering staff has reviewed the bids to see if they were comparable cost. They have been. He has agreed that they are. But the developer has introduced a replat of that first subdivision, which is this one here. But he had bigger lots. He's going to reduce the size of lots. That I spoke to the developer before the meeting. There is a contingency amount in the development agreement that some of that funding could come out of that. Any change orders could come out of that contingency fund, so it wouldn't really matter.
So what do you mean the city having to come up with additional money?
No, the city doesn't have to come up with any money. The developer is using his own investment to create this subdivision. The city approved a line item budget for this TERS. It has to come out of that line item. Hopefully, the developer will be paid back if he sells the property. If he sells lots, the tax value increases, so there's an increment that could be recaptured. That increment will be recaptured and put into a development fund, a trust fund with the city, and when he submits bills to the city, it will come out of that fund. But if there's no increment, well, he can't get paid, and he understands that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, this is an action item.
We approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner
Second.
Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You didn't even have to say anything, Raleigh. It's been approved. Thank you much for being here this evening, though.
Same opt-out, the right to opt out.
That's right. It's the same, that's how you presented it, Ben. All right.
If we could read.
Item 21 is simply to approve the low bids, which have already been approved by the zoning board.
Item 21 is related to this,
Yes.
Ben? All right, well, let's go ahead and take care of item 21.
Item 21, consideration and action to accept the lowest bid for the first subdivision development of infrastructure for University Plaza subdivision Phase 1.
Move to approve.
Second.
Let's just get some quick data on it,
Okay.
so.
Data, yes, yes, Mayor. The developer went out for bids. Mr. Holdar is the engineer of record. He went out for bids. He has an engineer's estimate of $1,092,740.50. There were two bids received, Jimmy Clarkson and Sons for $1,228,999.50, and Rico Construction of $1,662,877. They are the low bidder. The city engineering staff has reviewed the bid, and the costs, the line items here are market rates according to his opinion, and we ask that they be approved.
All right, any other questions? If not, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Bless you.
Bless you. Lisa, thank you for
Thank you.
turning on the air conditioner.
Thank you. All right, item 12.
Item 12, consideration and action to approve the process timeline for the fiscal year 2007-2008 Housing and Urban Development Entitlement Grants.
Mayor, City Commissioners, this item is related to item number 4, in which you appointed some members to the BCAC. In your package, you'll see a number of events or activities that the BCAC will be undertaking. Probably most importantly are the public hearings. This year, we're calling for a total of 3 public hearings, 2 out in the community and 1 right here in the chambers.
All right, any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Zeno, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 13.
Consideration and action on funding options for Phase 2 of the Brownsville Sports Park.
Honorable Mayor and Commission, again, what we're here to do is to ask your support of the BCIC approval of the financial advisor's recommendation to cap the bond at $600,000 for annual debt.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, could we,
That's that.
what exactly did you just say, Selena?
What we are asking for is for the City Commission to support the
Yeah, that one.
BCIC's recommendation as far as the financial advisor's recommendation to cap the annual debt at $600,000 for the bond that we will be pursuing for the additional funding for the sports park.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to vote in favor of it, but I will tell you that I have my reservations and concerns with regards to the fact that we're committing an additional amount. I don't have a problem with how you're doing it. I'm still not sure, though, with regards to the overall project and why we've gotten to this point. But I will hesitantly vote in favor of it, so the motion passes.
Thank you.
But I just want my reservations on the record, as I've been doing throughout this project. Item 14.
Item 14, consideration and action regarding retention of Diamond McCarthy to pursue delay damage claims and pending litigation style Golden Spread versus City of Brownsville.
Members of the City Commission, in order for this commission to make an informed decision about a counsel to represent the city going forward in the Golden Spread case, I'd ask for 30 days to table this item for 30 days so that I could do some more due diligence and try to determine if there are other firms in the Dallas area that might be qualified to represent the city in this matter.
Mayor, I would so instruct city attorney to go out for our request for proposals from any other firms,
Well,
and that we table for 30 days.
If we're gonna do RFPs and they're gonna have to prepare them, then you're gonna have to give the firms an opportunity to,
Because it's professional services, I'm not familiar with RFPs, they're RFQs, but what I'd hope to do is just in conjunction with Mr. Davidson or the PUB members of anyone else that had a recommendation of a firm in that area, just to try to contact them and discuss the situation with them and bring back whatever findings we have within 30 days. I don't know of a way to formally bid it as such.
Is that your motion, Commissioner?
well, the action is regarding the retention, not detention, should be retention.
Right, and I was just asking for 30 days to just in order to do more due diligence, to bring it back to the commission for you all to make a determination at that time.
I just moved to table, 30
Second.
days.
All right, move to table by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioners Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. But I think those are the parameters that you need to operate under, Mr. Goza, with regards to the wishes of the commission.
Yes, sir.
Be
Item-
specific, real quick, and be specific that the city is gonna go after. The city's gonna go
Going to
after.
make a decision on the retention of council.
And it'll be brought back to this commission for a final decision, yes, sir.
All right. Item 15.
Item 15, consideration and action to approve the plan of finance regarding the issuance of approximately 6 million general obligation bonds and 11.7 million certificates of obligation.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, previously I had handed out the plan of finance packet that Estrella Hinojosa developed for us. On page 1 of 6, we're asking for your authorization to proceed with the issuance of $6 million worth of general obligation bonds for street construction, 4.5, and as far as under the certificates of obligation category, 4.5 million for the bus multimodal terminal, the local share, landfill cell construction for 1.5 million, library remodeling, which includes major plumbing renovations of $1 million, the purchase of land for the city's landfill, 1.5 million, linear park construction, $2 million, and the $2 million will be paid back by CDBG funds. The Johnson Electric building at the airport for $665,000, and the data.
Why 20 years on that one, Pete?
I'm sorry?
Why 20 years on the term for that item?
For the airport purchase.
For that Johnson Electric?
It's a building. Normally,
I know what it is. Why are we extending it out 20 years?
make it easier on us. The longer the term, the better for us, and it qualifies because this is a building.
Well, the one go ahead.
And then the other one is the data center renovation.
And that one we're only doing 5 years.
5 years, because it's just remodeling.
Well, my point is that it's 105,000 that we're going to spread over 20 years, and I don't.
Well, again,
how much would that cost us? How much would that impact your analysis, Mr. Hinojosa, if you were to do a shorter term on that 665? Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry, Pete. Well, actually, I'm not, but go ahead.
Well, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Hinojosa.
All right, go ahead.
For the record, my name is Noe Hinojosa with Estrella Hinojosa and Company, serve as the city as financial advisor. And if you go just to the next page, you'll find that as you did last year, if you recall, we had a combination of issues, certificate of obligation issue and a general obligation bond issue. And as has been our practice, when you go out and borrow this money, the first thing we want to make sure of is that whatever you're financing, that you don't stretch what you believe to be the life expectancy of the items that you're either purchasing, constructing, acquiring, and so on and so forth. So if you quickly go to column F, which is representative of the instrument that we're using in order to purchase, like the airport building, you'll find that the payments on there are both principal and interest. And if you want to make a higher payment on principal, let's say that instead of borrowing money over the course of 20 years for a building, you want to do over 10 years, well, that pretty much doubles your annual payment for that project. What's important to you is that when you're looking at the global debt plan of the city, you're concerned about, I'm assuming, about how it's going to impact the 2008 tax year, which is next year. And thus, if you go out and were to take a more aggressive approach to funding that item, for example, then the impact will be greater, and thus the tax rate impact will be greater. In fact, right now, you currently levy 31.81 cents for debt service, about 32 cents. Well, last year, you were levying 34 cents. If you were to do this, you have to go to 36 cents, from 32 to 36. Okay? If you recall, last year when we did the new money projects, we also did a small refinancing to basically free up some of that stress that we had on payments on current debt that were too high, if you recall that, in order to be able to sustain the rate. Well, not only do you sustain the rate, you actually lower the rate. And now we're asking you, if you go over to case B, which is the next case.
Page 4?
Page 4 of 6. And after seeing this, Mayor, I'm just realizing that I need some eyeglasses, so bear with me.
What do you think? I'm looking at you, and I can't look at this.
I think my staff keeps getting younger, and just because they can read it, they assume that I can. But in any event, case B, basically, if you were to allow us to do a small restructuring, you look at column J, and it's about $2.4 million, which is what we did last year, if some of you recall. Then the impact will be de minimis. So it'll be basically a 2-cent tax rate adjustment, which brings us back to where we were in tax year 06 and not tax year 07. So from our point of view or perspective, I think this will be a better approach to the matter.
You think so?
I mean, if you want to. I mean, I'm assuming that you would.
Okay.
So, I think that the purchase of the building is one element, but you're borrowing $12 million, not $665. So when you blend it all together, I think it behooves you to look at the bigger picture and see how that affects it. So in essence, you got $6 million of general obligation bonds that will be sold, that were authorized previously by the voters for street improvements, and about $12 million of certificates of obligation issued for a variety of projects, as Mr. Gonzalez listed. And then when it comes down to the sales tax, which is the next issue as proposed by the BCIC, I think it's important for the benefit of some of you who are not on the BCIC board, although 3 of your commission members do or are on that board, and we discussed this last night, as a matter of fact. The project that was proposed was to attempt to complete this master plan project of about $12 million. And back in 2004, when the city took it upon building this sports complex, we sort of went with an approach back then that, hey, let's go out and attempt to finance with $900,000 as much as we can of this sports complex. At the time, $900,000 we thought was going to fund about 10. Rates came in our favor from the time we made the presentation to the time that we financed the project, that we actually ended up borrowing about $12 million. Well, today, the project cost estimates are about $24 to $26 million. Yet, from our point of view, we thought that instead of doing a financing that will push, again, put more pressure on your sales tax receipts, and currently, that sales tax revenue is being paid by nothing but a 1/4 cent sales tax. that you currently levy for that purpose. That 0.25% sales tax is projected in '07 to levy about $4 million. So out of the $4 million, the BCIC automatically pays $900,000, shy of that, about $889, $885, for this mortgage that was incurred back in '04. We thought that if we all recognize that once this park gets built, well, maintenance is going to have to be taken into account. Thus, if they were to go out and attempt to do what they've always been doing, that is, not only work on the sports project complex, but also assist other entities that come up for their request for funding, vis-a-vis Boys Club, I believe, and other parks. And, I mean, they do other things other than this, that they don't sacrifice all of those $4 million for this mortgage payment or for this sports complex. So from our perspective, we thought, okay, you got 900,000, you got 600,000 that maybe they could use against the $4 million they collect, that's $1.5 million, and then use 500,000 for M&O expenses, so that's $2 million. Allows them to continue to keep $2 million that they can either, as the years go by, opt to not fund any more of some of the requests they get, but maybe use for other projects, like the ones you've mentioned earlier, Mayor. At the same time, you would suspect, adverse to an economic condition that may occur similar to the '80s, that sales tax will continue to grow. And if it continues to grow, you'll probably be in a position then to do something, like another facility, another project. So that's how we came about to use only about 600,000. If you go to the market with $600,000, you'll see that we can probably deposit into the construction fund for the sports complex about $7,261,000, and thus the financing will be close to $7.5 million thereabouts. And that's how we got to that. In order to get there, we will follow a proposed timeline that is on the very last page of that document we just gave you, that encompasses, we're here today, February the 30th. At the meeting of March the 6th, our bond counsel, Tom Spurgeon with McCall or Noel Valdez, will present to you a resolution through the city attorney, publishing notice of intent to sell COs. And on or about May 1, we could sell these instruments, but we could do that earlier.
All right.
And very likely we'll have the rating agencies and insurance companies probably come down to Brownsville to see all the growth that you'll experience, which is incredible. So that's.
Do we have any? Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Do we have any other questions? All right.
Everybody understands, on page 4 of 6, under column I, we have set aside contributions from the CDBG grant of $242,000, and that's to pay for the
Linear Park.
Linear Park.
Okay. See, I was listening to you. This is an action item.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 16.
Consideration and action on resolution number 2007-010, expressing official intent to reimburse with tax-exempt obligation proceeds for costs associated with the constructing landfill cell improvements and improvements to the Brownsville Public Library and funding the city's portion of a bus multimodal terminal.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, we will, with the approval of this resolution, we can start spending money on the landfill and the multimodal terminal for bus, and also for some improvements at the public library. So.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Longoria, seconded by Commissioner Atkinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 17.
Consideration and action to adopt budget amendment resolution number 2007-011 to amend the general fund by $141,744 to provide funding for the creation of a non-emergency ambulance transport service division under the Health Department.
Go ahead, Pete.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, City Manager Mr. Kabler is recommending that we set aside budget amounts to provide non-emergency medical transport services, to be under the Health Department. And this would require, this would require hiring basic EMTs, 4 full-time and 2 part-timers to handle the non-emergency medical transports. And this budget amendments would authorize this, and the budget that we have before you is for 7 months.
This is greatly needed. Really.
This will free up current fire EMT personnel from doing this project and allow them to be able to respond. Plus, it'll allow us to continue to generate the revenues that this activity generates for us, because every time we transport a patient or a person from point A to point B, we're able to generate revenue out of that.
We also check with TML, our insurance carrier, to make sure that since this is going to be under the health department, that we would be covered with the current insurance that we have right now. And they said, no problem.
And don't let them say that there is.
Mayor, I just want to note the presence of Dr. Wells and to thank you, Dr. Wells, for your dedicated service to his community and everything you do behind the scenes.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. We appreciate
Move to
that.
approve.
This is an action motion to approve
Second.
by Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 18.
Item 18, consideration and action on resolution number 2007-012, authorizing, adopting, and implementing the drug and alcohol policy of the City of Brownsville's Transit Department, Brownsville Urban System, as revised February 2007.
Honorable Mayor and Commission, BUS is requesting approval for 2 changes to its drug and alcohol policy. The first is to lower the rate for drug testing, the random testing, from 50% to 25%, as allowed by recent changes.
50%
of all safety-sensitive employees. Right now we're at 50. We want to go down to 25. The FDA just recently made a rule change that allows us to do that. And the second change is to change some language in the policy to cover safety-sensitive employees both on and off duty.
What's the percentage?
Yeah, why would you want to go down from 50 to 25%? That means you're randomly testing fewer people.
That's correct. As a general regulation, the FDA determined that less than 0.1% of all employees across the board were testing positive. So as a general rule, it decided that we could lower the rate. In addition, we see it as a cost-saving measure. There's never been a problem as well. So we thought it would be a good idea to lower it.
All right. Any questions?
Well, I just...
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Atkinson, right? Who made the motion?
Me.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by somebody?
Well, I still have a problem. I mean, I understand that it would be a cost savings, but if we're requiring all our regular employees to submit, and then we go to BUS, forgive me, but when you're a driver and you're driving around our citizens, I don't agree with, I think that they should just be held as liable as everybody else.
I agree
for driving
with that.
around. Is there any penalty, or is there anything that the FDA would consider, against us for not abiding by 25% and remaining at 50?
No, actually, the primary reason is a cost-saving measure.
Can you give us an amount? Can you give us a number?
I cannot give you that.
How many employees do we have right now at BUS?
Right now, drivers
that are
safety sensitive.
Safety sensitive.
Drivers for sure. I know 51.
Out of those 51s, have any of them been tested positive? In the last, just you can give give a name, but just
out of testing 25, it'd go down to 13.
13, right.
So how much does each drug test cost?
I'm not sure how much each one costs.
And how often do you test?
This is a random test. We test a few individuals each
Well,
month.
in other words, is it from 1 year, from January 1st to December 31st, you have to test 50% of that?
Exactly.
Right now?
It's a calendar year, yes.
Doesn't sound like that many tests,
That's a typical industry standard for drivers in a transit system.
I'd like to get some more information on the cost savings.
Sure.
Because do we know for a fact that the federal government won't penalize us if we don't adopt it? Do we know that for a fact?
Other than what was in the Federal Register, allowing us to reduce the number, I'm not sure that we can say that.
I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
Move to
for
make-
approval
to
and
table the item.
Table
I
it,
was
like
gonna-
Commissioner.
Motion died.
Get
for-
more information then.
Motion died for lack of a second. Motion to table by Commissioner Camarillo.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioners Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 19.
Consideration and action to authorize a memorandum of understanding between the City of Brownsville, Texas and United Sports Equities.
Mayor, members of the City Commission, hopefully you were provided in your packets a copy of the proposed memorandum of understanding between the United Baseball Leagues and the city. They've made it clear to us, or to me, that this is just considered on their part to be a starting point, that they're not trying to suggest these are the only terms or conditions that they would consider, but
Let me tell you, I finally had an opportunity to read the MOU, and while I'm certainly desirous of the fact that we want to see this happen, there are some issues in there that I can tell you right now I'm not comfortable with. But again, this is just a starting point. This does not bind either the city or the league. This is just allows us to continue the discussion. But there are some questions there, and I think we made you aware of those, Mr. Goza.
and I can coordinate with the principals of the United Baseball League and ask them how they would feel, but I would, if I may, I think the sensitive part of it is item 5, where it talks about us having to issue tax-exempt bonds.
Right.
What I understood from them was that the method of repaying those bonds was somewhat negotiable, that they would propose to do additional commercial development, and it might be possible to tie the revenues from those developments somehow to the repayment of the bond. I'm not sure. But if that's the issue in particular that the commission would like for me to discuss with them, I'll be happy to do that.
I think that's a concern.
There are a lot of concerns with regards to that, and the language that says "and intended." I would get rid of "and intended." I would put it is desired with regards to that, because that's their position.
I believe yesterday too, we kind of got a feel from Mr. Arnojosa that we should run it by him, yourself, but this is just to let him keep.
Start formally speaking.
Okay.
But I still would recommend, for my part, to make the changes that you've just enumerated to me, and then bring it back to you for approval, even of just the tentative agreement.
All right.
I'll be happy to do that.
Also move.
Second.
Move to table.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah.
Move to
with
table by
conditions.
Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 20.
Consideration and action on the acknowledgement and receipt of grant funds from the Texas State Library and Archives Commission.
Thought you weren't bringing one.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, the Brownsville Public Library System has received a grant from the Texas State Library and Archives Commission for $20,665, which will be used for equipment at the library and possibly some equipment for Channel 12. This is the 4th year the library system has received an award under this grant program from the state.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Atkinson, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 22.
Item 22, consideration and action to authorize the city manager to execute a service agreement with Wealth Resources, Inc. for Washington Government Services.
Honorable Mayor, City Commission, tonight I ask for your approval to ask the city manager, Mr. Kabler, to execute the agreement with Wealth Resources for government relations services in Washington from February 15th, 07 to February 14th, 08.
Ben, let me tell you, I'm in favor of it, but I recall that in the earlier agreement that there was a 30-day termination clause, and that needs to be included in here, because if the city commission post-May or June wants to go in a different route or wants to do it before then, I don't want to tie their hands. We appreciate what Mr. Parker's done for us in the past and what he's doing for us right now, but if a month from now the commission wants to go a different route, we need to include that in there so that we're...
So I ask your permission to include that? And
Yeah.
with your approval?
I think that needs to be in there.
Mayor, I also had some of the language that I had some concerns with, where Brownsville shall pay a monthly professional fee of $12,000 plus expenses incurred in its behalf. Ben and I discussed it, and we talked about, well, that's related to the Washington trip, but we need to be specific because we're talking about expenses have occurred. Well, they could be expenses occurred next month, the following month, and so forth after that. And the way I read it.
I don't think he's ever given us any.
No,
In
I
the 3
think-
years that he's been I don't think he's ever expensed anything.
I guess I'd just like to see it be specific.
As a safeguard, I think.
Yeah.
I think
good idea.
expenses incurred while we are present.
Well, you gotta make sure that we word it that way.
So ask your approval with those two
With those-
additions.
I'll make the motion to approve that.
All right, motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner Camarillo, seconded by Commissioner Nettles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
Item 23, consideration and action to support and accept the South Texas Auto Theft Enforcement Task Force Equipment Supplemental Grant Award in the amount of $118,675 awarded to the City of Brownsville Police Department.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, the grant is specific for the purchase of vehicles as opposed to leasing of vehicles, which is what they do now. And the money will be shared with McAllen, Cameron County.
Do we have to?
So move to accept.
Second.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed,
Thank you,
motion
Commander.
carries. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you.
Item 24, consideration and action to award a contract for Community Development Block Grant for street pavement improvements for Park Drive and Water Drive.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, at the request of our Engineering Director, Carlos Lastra, and our Planning Director, Ben Medina, Purchasing Department solicited formal sealed bids for this project. These bids were opened on Wednesday, January 31st. A total of 5 bids were received and tabulated by the project's consulting engineer from Ambiotech. Our recommendation this evening is your consideration and action to award a contract for Community Development Block Grant for street pavement improvements for Park Drive, Water Drive, to Quail Construction of Brownsville. They were the low responsible bidder at $110,876.50. It's interesting to note that the engineer's estimate was $137,428.50, so the last few bids we've been coming in under the engineer's estimate, which is good. This is all CDBG funded.
So move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nettles, seconded by Commissioner Camarillo. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we have 2 public comments. Mr. Robert Uresta, water and sewer concerns, Eagle Drive concerns, and shopping carts.
Robert Este. The City of Brownsville tonight has increased the water and sewer rates to the majority of the citizens of Brownsville. I learned that the city government of Brownsville is going to increase our water rates by 10% if you use over 9,001 gallons per month. This new water rate was not the doing of PUB, but the city government. My last month's bill, water bill, was 9,000 gallons. My average is 8,000 per year, per month per year. My family, we only have a family of 3. My neighborhood average was 10,000 last month, and the city average was 10,000 for the city. And this is the winter season. But during the summer months, which is March to October or longer, the average is 11,000. And my neighborhood is 10,000 to 11,000. My average is always 8,000. This information is put in your PUB bills every month. I spoke to the PUB management to explain to him about these averages, and he told me that information was just information. That is not correct, because my average, and I check it every month, is 8,000, and you're proposing 9,000. The majority of the people, between 85 and 95% percentile of the consumers in Brownsville will pay a higher rate because many residents have extended families. Okay, the city government will overburden the citizens of Brownsville with this new water and sewer rates. Please don't do us any more favors, because every time the city government wants to help the citizens of Brownsville, we come out losing in the end. This is an impact fee for the wrong people of Brownsville. Potholes. Winter and rain is a combination for bad roads in Brownsville. If you drive to leave your child off at Hannah High School, you'll see that Eagle Drive is so full of potholes. This street needs to be resurfaced from east to west. How much damage has this pothole done to your car? Have students tripped or fallen because of these potholes? And I was told yes. For one of the largest schools in Brownsville, it's so sad that other schools from the valley who visit Hannah High School are laughing and wondering why Brownsville have substandard conditions of roads for this school.
Mr. Odesta, can I say something real quick?
No.
You can't address him.
I'll talk to you.
Go ahead, Mr. Odesta.
Please don't use the people who fixed the old Port Isabel Road last year. That project took 1.5 years to do. because the contractor and PUB work 1 day and 2 weeks off. All the streets in Brownsville are in need of repairs, and the people of Brownsville need better contractors to do better street repairs. And a question that came to me right now real quickly is I talked to people, that street is a city of Brownsville street. Shopping carts. Around my neighborhood, I noticed shopping carts from H-E-B, El Globo, Target, Walmart, Dollar Tree, etc., littering the city of Brownsville. Some of these shopping carts have been stationary for years in certain parts of the city. Behind the Rockwell Apartments, you can see shopping carts that were thrown into one of the Brownsville resacas or in canals that crisscross our city. You can see people taking shopping carts and leaving them at home alleys and everything. This city has not done anything about those shopping carts.
Thank you, Mr. Odesta.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Hinojosa, regarding noise and reduction of hours for operation.
Mr. Oresti, if you wait after, I want to talk to you real quick.
Good evening. My name is Maria Hinojosa. I'm back again, but this is on another topic. I'm here on behalf of the residents that live on the street of Blanche Street, which is basically the first 100 block of Blanche Street, the first block of the street. Across from my home, which is 70 feet from my door entrance, is the establishment restaurant Mr. Taco. The hours of business are 24 hours opening. We have checked with the zoning commission, and they tell us because of the zoning classification, they are allowed to be open 24 hours. But the commission and the zoning committee is forgetting that there are neighborhoods in that street block. There are elderly people. I'm here on everyone's behalf to have the commission reconsider the classification hours approved to Mr. Taco without our notification to limit their hour of business, asking them to consider to close at 12 midnight instead of being open 24 hours. It is causing extreme noise, which I understand from other people that this noise is normal noise. You're going to hear from a business, but if the business would not open at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning as a now hangout place after club hours is ridiculous. When you're woken from your sleep and have to be awake until 4 when the noise quiets down, you have to call the police officers to come over to help because the constables that they supposedly have to control are not doing their job. We're asking the commission to please consider the hours that Mr. Taco has been approved so that the safety of the residents on Blanche Street can be able to live a normal home environment.
Thank you, Ms. Hinojosa. Mr. Ayala, if you'd please speak to Ms. Hinojosa to get some information about this. All right. Thank you very much for your comments this evening. This meeting is adjourned.